we are going to call on our brother Richard, Barrister Richard Kelani, to introduce our first guest. And before then, he's also going to give us a short brief on the AFD, the Advocates for Democracy. Can I call upon Brother Richard? Brother Richard, are you?
Yes, I'm online.
Okay, thank you.
Online. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. We thank God for the privilege of hosting another meeting to discuss the direction in which our country is going. And all of us are welcome. We have our special guests also in waiting, and we are trusting that the Lord will give us mileage on arriving at solution for this country. The organizers of this special meeting, special national discussion, national conversation that we have been having, this is the third one we are having, and they are the group called Alliance for Democracy, for Freedom and Democracy. And the group is made up of over 60 Christian groups and ministries from all over Nigeria, and they are committed to the pursuit of democracy, of freedom, and of good governance, which we think are very cardinal, irrespective of religious bias and any other tendencies. These are national issues that should concern all of us. So it's on that basis that we have embarked on holding these discussions, and we are glad today we have a very eminent personality amongst us this evening in the person of Dr. Obadiah Malafia. Many of us already know him over the issue of some of the statements he made sometime last year that ruffled a few feathers in high places. He's a very fearless brother, committed to democratic values. All of us know him. He's been former deputy governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria. He's a leader of the Middle Belt group. He has actually been working among the Middle Belt people, and he has been a presidential candidate for his party, the African Democratic Congress, particularly in the last 2019 election. He's not a stranger to national discourse. He has been speaking on television and granting interviews, and many of us obviously would have been hearing him. So he's here to take the first shot, and it's my privilege to call upon him. Actually, for today, is our lead speaker. The theme, as our sister has brought for us, that is the sub-theme for today: avoiding carnage. What options for Nigeria and Nigerians? It is under the general theme of Nigeria on the brink, disintegration or rebirth. My pleasure to welcome Dr. Obadiah Malafia to the mic. Doctor, please, floor is yours.
Okay. Good evening, brethren. Can you hear me very well?
Good evening, sir.
Yes, sir. We hear you very well, sir.
Thank you so very much. Well, this is just to say thank you for having me. I have a PowerPoint. Can one of the experts show me how to start showing it? Share screen, is that? I think it's under share screen, yeah? Is it share screen? And let me see. Sorry, let me just check it. I'll be with you in a minute. Yeah, I'll be with you in a minute. Oh. Okay, can you see it? Can you see the PowerPoint?
It's just coming on.
Sorry?
It's just
Can you
coming
see the
on.
PowerPoint?
Yes, yes.
You can see it and you can see me.
Yeah.
Okay,
It
so
is
let
on
me
now.
see. Okay, very good. Let me start slideshow. Anyway, without wasting further time, thank you so very much for having me. It's a great pleasure and honor, and I always find it a joy to share my thoughts with brethren in times like these. My name is Obadiah Malafia, as I've been introduced. And Malafia in the Hausa language means a man of peace. So I am your servant, and I'm the servant of the Most High, and I come to you with peace. Sorry, sorry. Yeah, Nigeria has been on the brink many times, but this time it's different. Secondly, I want to humbly submit that Nigeria is not a mistake, because the good Lord doesn't make mistakes. It was Albert Einstein, the greatest scientist of the 20th century, who said that God does not play dice with the universe. He was speaking the idiom of cosmology and astrophysics. But this also applies to our world, that God doesn't really make mistakes because he is the all-knowing God. And he has a purpose for putting together such a multifarious group of peoples and religions that Nigeria consists of. And his intention is that we make something great out of it. I really appreciate all of you for this opportunity. Please just give me 1 second. You know, NEPA, they've just taken light where I am. 1 minute, please.
While our special guest sorting out on a few things, let's be getting ready to pay attention and take notes of the high points, and so that we can ask very constructive questions to obtain the very best from this meeting. Thank you very much.
Sorry, it's been sorted out. Sorry, my apologies. It's been sorted out.
You're welcome.
Because I don't want my system to just shut down quickly. So, thirdly, Nigeria is a country of destiny. It's a country with a great destiny. We're meant to be the beacon of hope for Africa and for the Black race. Those of you who are in the diaspora, you know what that means. Unless Nigeria makes it, there is no hope for the Black man. or black woman. Let me be very honest with you. If there is one nation in Africa that is a first world industrial technological state, the world will respect Africa and the black race. If there is none, forget Africa, forget the black race. It seems audacious to say such a thing, but that's the reality of it. And I'm sorry to say that some of the world powers understand this, and they're indirectly, covertly contributing towards the current crisis that Nigeria is facing. But we cannot blame outsiders. We are fully and wholly responsible for our destiny and our fate. But there are no guarantees. We are reaching a point of irreversible catastrophe. Because, you know, any system, be it a national system or an environmental system or any system in nature, there's only so much the system can take. Sooner or later, something would have to give. The kind of relentless pressures being put on the Nigerian system is bound sooner or later to crack up. We are, in a manner of speaking, facing the Niagara Falls of history. We are reaching the threshold of irreversibility. And that is what being at the brink means. So yes, we are at the brink, but as believers, we live by hope. There are things we can do under God that will transform the current calamity into the light of hope. The Chinese say that every crisis is also an opportunity. This is an opportunity to reinvent the very idea of Nigeria and to rebuild our country as a civilized and forward-looking nation, a progressive democratic nation based on humane values, based on social justice, based on democracy, and based on enlightenment and civilization. We're the largest economy on the continent, rapid demographic growth, rising national debt, unfortunately, poverty, capital of the world, that's what we are now, unfortunately, and one of the most terrorized nations in the world. We have massive infrastructure deficits, power outages every now and then, as we just experienced now from my hideout, where I am now. And, you know, people tell us that we're heading towards a failed state. This is some graphics that are quite interesting. They tell us something about Nigeria. You can see number 3 here. Nigeria is going to be the 4th most populous nation in the world. We're about 200 million now. And in 30 years' time, by 2050, we are estimated to be 410.64 million people, just behind India and China, and ahead of the United States. This is a dramatic change of fortunes, and it can be a blessing or a curse, depending on what we do, depending on the quality of leadership, and depending on the policy choices that we make. Growth has been very lackluster over the last couple of years. In fact, last year we had negative growth, and you know, it's getting worse in many areas of our country, especially in, you know, industry. In foreign direct investments, companies are relocating to Ghana and other places. This is the reality of it. And unemployment is rising, it's over 30% generally, and for the young people, it's over 40%. In the far north, like northeast and northwest, it's actually in the 70% range. And that, you'll agree with me, is catastrophic. We have depended on a petrodollar political economy that is, is programmed to lead to unbalanced growth, to lead to dependency, and to lead to exchange rate volatility and the rest of it. We have the problem of desertification. The desert is encroaching 15 kilometers on average per annum. So you can imagine over the last 20 years what it has been, and the next 30 years what it's likely to be. You can see all the cielo marks in some of the northern states. This is an area where desertification has already encroached. The drying of the lake chart, partly, I said partly, doesn't explain everything that is happening in the Northeast in terms of the insurgency. Nigeria is the world capital of poverty. This is an unenviable position to be in. What does that mean? It means that we as a country have the largest concentration of poor as internationally defined, destitute poor. We overtook India as far as 2017. If you look at the red line curving downwards, that is how India has been fighting and tackling poverty. Nigeria is the first line there that is looking straight and moving up rather than down. And DRC Congo is next, down there. And you see at the intersection between that top line and the red line is the point at which we overtook India. We equaled with India and overtook India. The number of poor people in Nigeria are close to 90 million. In India, they're only about 70 million. That 70 million out of a population of 1.3 billion works out to maybe something like 18% of the population. Whereas in Nigeria, that number is catastrophic. It is closer to 50% of our population. And that is very, very worrisome, around 45% of our population. This is the geography of poverty. It's a predominantly northern phenomenon. And those who are into, econometric, analysis would say, well, there seems to be some correlation between the incidence of poverty and, banditry, insurrections, and insurgencies, and the rest of it. So this map speaks for itself. So what do we have today? Farmers, herders conflict. I don't like that term very much because really, it's not really just a farmer herders thing. You have very, mercenaries with sophisticated weapons going into villages, killing families indiscriminately, women, children, elderly, youth, and the rest of it. It's been going on for the last 10 years, and it is disastrous. Then you have Boko Haram, other groups, splinter groups like ISWAP, Akim, they're all there, gaining in strength and sophistication. Kidnapping. Nigeria has become the kidnap capital of the world. There's banditry, there's cultism, there's oil-related issues, bunkering, grand larceny, and people lifting our oil illegally. And there are also some separatist agitations. So it's a nightmare scenario that we find ourselves in today. Nigeria also ranks as the third worst governed country in the world. Now, let's just go back from the 60s. Nigeria can be a very traumatizing experience. We have this uncanny ability to always go towards the brink. And there have been many cases in the past, right from the First Republic, of political unrest, violence, killings. There was Western unrest in the West. They used to call it the Wild, Wild West. And it culminated in 1963 when Obafemi Awolowo, the leader of the Western region, was sentenced to prison for 10 years on trumped up charges of treasonable felony. And when his son, who just graduated from Cambridge with a PhD, was driving from Ibadan to go and help join the team to defend his father in Lagos, he died in a so-called accident. And look at the mother here, Yaya Oba, Mrs. Awolowo, with some people waiting at the courthouse and the rest of it. And this kind of thing could have led to civil war. The tension was all over the country. This is one example in which we were always heading towards the brink, doing things that, in other countries would have led to immediate civil war and the rest of it. And then the January 1966 coup. Some people call it an Igbo coup. Some people say, no, it is a coup that, was led predominantly by Igbo, but it was not an Igbo coup. This is one of the leaders of the coup, Major Kaduna Nzog, and being interviewed by a BBC journalist. Whether it's an Igbo coup or not, I don't think that should preoccupy us here. One thing is clear is that the victims were predominantly non-Igbo, and there were hardly any Igbo victims, in as much as the coup plotters had a nationalistic ambition. You cannot take that from them. Even this man that we're seeing, Zog, was a very nationalistic person. But it led to the death of Sardauna, of Sokoto, the leader of the North, who had his own problems. He said that this North, the new nation called Nigeria, should be an estate of our great-grandfather, Uthman Danfodio. We must ruthlessly prevent a change of power. We use the minorities of the North as willing tools and the South as a conquered territory, and never allow them to rule over us, and never allow them to have control over their future. Quote, he was felled at the 1966 January coup, and of course, Tafawa Balewa, the prime minister, as well as Okotibo, the minister of finance from the Midwest at the time, and Ladoke Akintola, who was close to the North and to the Sardauna himself. And the man next to him is Fani Kayode, Chief Remilekon Fani Kayode, the deputy premier of the West. He was arrested and jailed, but he was later released. So, and then of course, there was an interregnum with Ironsi, who, again created another very situation that I would call a brink. He promulgated Decree 34, which unilaterally merged the country into a unitary state, thereby intensifying very genuine fears in the North that they were about to be swamped by Southern technocrats who would take advantage of their lack of education. Then Gawan came over in July, took over, and of course, Ojukwu did not agree with him. They had the Aburi agreement. And we can talk a lot about Aburi, but I think, we call it Aburi, but the Ghanaians don't call it Aburi, where the meeting took place. They call it Ebri. It is just about, 60 kilometers outside Accra. That was the venue of the meeting that was organized by and chaired by General Ankara of Ghana to try and reconcile these brothers who were fighting with each other. So Gowon was there, Ojukwu, the federal side, the Biafra side were there. They reached a certain kind of agreement that amounted to, in a way, sharing power in a kind of very loose confederation. When Gowon came back home, his civil servants advised him that, look, this thing will not work. You've sold the country. So he reneged on Aburi and the agreement. And of course, Ojukwu would not have any of it. And that eventually led to war. I have two things to say about Aburi. A lot of people blame Gowon for this, but the truth of the matter is that they don't know their international law. First of all, in international law of treaties, when you reach an agreement, you also have a period of what they call ratification, where you can go back, consult with your due constituents and key governmental authorities, and agree and ratify the agreement, then it goes into force as a treaty. So long as there was no ratification, I don't think you can totally blame Gawan for this. And then secondly, the agreement amounted to sharing power, literally, between the head of state and all the governors. Any important appointment must be approved by all of them, and so on, and the rest of it. Where on earth do you really share power? Where on earth is power shared? Once you've taken power, you don't really share power. So EBRI was, in a way, a contract that could not be enforced. And under English law and equity, an unenforceable contract, ipso facto, is no contract whatsoever.
Yeah.
Now, these are my humble opinions. Biafra was a catastrophe. We lost about 3 million people in Biafra, predominantly in Igbo. But people forget that in the Middle Belt, we lost a lot of people as well, because Gowon resorted to conscripting young people, teenagers, most of whom had never seen a rainforest before. They were mowed down like grass. This is Kwashoko of children who died in Biafra, another massive trauma for our country. I mean, for some of my Indigo friends who grew up at that age, the trauma is still very real. They can hardly seem to forget it. Many people do not know of a young man, Mayrock, a student at an Ivy League university, Columbia University, in 1969, who went to the United Nations building in New York, poured petrol on himself and set ablaze himself in protest against genocide in Biafra. If foreigners could be so traumatized, you can imagine the kind of traumas that our people in Biafra, as well as in the rest of the country, have had to go through because of this. So we've been going to the brink for a long time. And then came Gowon, after the Civil War and the Reconstruction, Gowon was overthrown by Murtala and Obasanjo. And Murtala himself was killed under the Dimka coup, which was another very terrible catastrophe. And here we have some of the coup plotters allegedly being executed. And in the middle, you have Joseph Dechi Gomwok, a cousin of Yakubu Gowon, who knew absolutely nothing about this coup. But he was roped in because they couldn't get Gowon. Gowon was in England. And so they brought Gomwok and simply executed him for something he did not know at all. And there were people like that in this very terrible tragedy that happened. Then comes the, we had the Second Republic that didn't work very well, but it was uneventful. It was not that bad under Shehu Shagari, but again, he was overthrown, first by General Muhammadu Buhari, who was himself overthrown after barely a year by a group led by General Ibrahim Babangida, who ruled for, I think, 9 years, but he went through a lot of trouble himself. He kept dribbling the country up and down until he dribbled himself, I think in 1996 or so, 1996 thereabouts. And he suffered 2 attempted coups. Look at him here. He's on the left, and his close friend and bosom friend, Mama Mvatsa, he was even his best man at his wedding. They went to primary 1 together in Bida. They finished and went to Government College Bida from 1 to 5 together. They graduated the same year, 1962, went to NDA together, graduated, fought in the Civil War together. They were that close. Their children used to holiday in each other's house. Then when Babangida became head of state, conflict and tension started between them until Babangida accused him of a coup plot. And eventually, he was executed together with a number of other people. I mean, it's one of those very traumatic events. Your best man at your wedding, your bosom friend, and so on, a man who's your own children holiday in his house during the summer, and they ended up, look at him in handcuffs. And then there was the Dimka coup. Dimka came in April 1990, did his coup, and yanked off the North, the Sharia North, and told them they were no more part of Nigeria. Of course, that created shockwave. That was another Brink, another very terrible Brink. And of course, the coup did not succeed. And eventually he was overpowered, he and his group. And they were tried here, they were all tried, and they were all executed. Then came, Babangida left the state and came General Abacha, who did not, there was the Shonekan interregnum, but Shonekan was just what in Hausa you would call Wawan Serki. Wawan Serki means an imitation Oba, a Yeye Oba, that is not a real Oba, because the powers behind the throne were the military. It was the Minister of Defense who shoved him aside and took over. And of course, went on to be very brutal. It was very terrible because Nigeria again was at the brink of collapsing. The whole Yoruba rejected the June 12 issue when Abiola, who won the elections clearly and incontrovertibly, was denied the mandate. So here you have MKO, another distinct Yoruba lawyers, Yoruba bankers were being terrorized, harassed, some of them were killed, many fled abroad, including Wole Soyinka, Bola Tinubu, and the rest of them. And, and they formed an organization to oppose the regime. And in fairness, even though MKO died, presumably poisoned, his death was the sacrifice that gave birth to the democracy that we're currently enjoying today. Then Obasanjo was brought in from prison to become president. And during his time, we had this small problem of a group called Taliban, led by Mohammed Yusuf, who was being supported by northern politicians. And it was under Umar Yar'Adua, who was very tough, and he was a Muslim. He was very tough on these groups. He ordered the arrest of this guy, and mysteriously, he died under police custody. This is the originator and the leader of Boko Haram, Mohammed Yusuf. His death radicalized the group and made them very aggressive and very violent. Here it is in 2002, the bombing of the church, the Catholic church in Madalla outside Abuja, in the Suleja area. Terrible. On Christmas Day, families had gone to church to celebrate Mass and were just about to go and have their Christmas lunch. Then these guys came and bombed the church. Hundreds died. It was catastrophic. It was terrible. It was aimed to provoke religious war. Again, another Brink. Luckily for us, it didn't. Nigerian Christians were patient. They were forbearing. And so we avoided a religious war. As far back as around 2001, an American called Kalmeya wrote a book called This House Has Fallen. In fact, writing as if the house, past participle, this house has already fallen. It's a question of waiting on when it's going to be buried. And then more recently, we have Nigeria on the Brink, written around 2014 by this former ambassador to Nigeria called John Campbell. What baffles me is why this particular group of people, why it must be Americans, who are writing books that have very evil prophecy about the coming end of Nigeria. They used to say, Nigeria will break up in 1999, it didn't happen. Then they say it is in 2000, it didn't happen. Then now they say it's in 2020, 2020 has come and gone. They are now saying it is in 2050 that Nigeria will disintegrate. So these evil prophecies, lead to so many questions. Are there world powers that really want Nigeria to be destroyed? Or we are the ones instigating it and helping them to bring about these evil prophecies. So, and Campbell and Rothbard recently wrote an article, in fact, 3 weeks ago in Foreign Affairs, very influential journal, the most influential journal in the world in the area of international affairs. They wrote an article there describing Nigeria as a failed state. And for us, I think they have a point. I cannot really sitting here deny that we are not a failed state. But they distinguish between a failed state and a collapsed state. A failed state is the one that is no longer performing its basic functions of government, such as law enforcement and justice, military defense, education, and creation of a stable economy. Then of the people in government, and where there's widespread criminality, corruption, poverty, illiteracy, and crumbling infrastructure. This is typical of what Nigeria has become today. But it is not yet a collapsed state. We are not yet grounded, but we are institutions of civil government as understood in all democratic nations. Elements of failed state include insurgency, high crime rates, corruption, judicial incompetence or interruption with the judiciary. You can imagine the Chief Justice of the country was removed under trumped-up charges. And somebody with a background in Sharia was appointed in his place. And then we have demographic pressure. There is pressure over land, over water resources, and so on. These are facts. Economic decline, we are seeing it everywhere. Horizontal inequity, that is between groups, there are serious inequalities. I showed you the North, predominantly poor, they have power and all the accoutrements of power that go with power, and yet they are so wretched and so poor. Poverty in the North is pathetic, pathetic. There are many who cannot even find basic foodstuffs to eat right now in Nigeria. We are facing the specter of hunger and famine. Especially the farmers can no longer go to their farms. There is a legitimacy crisis in the government. There's collapse of public institutions, human rights abuses, violations of the rule of law, massive refugees and IDPs. According to the UNDP, there are more than 300 internally displaced refugees in Nigeria. About 100,000 people have died over the last 10 years out of this. This is an estimate, could be far more, of people who have died. And according to certain sources, more than 15 to 20 million people have been affected one way or the other in the areas, in the theaters of these conflicts. Then, of course, there are external factors, covert actions. We are told that Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Iran, Turkey, Oman, various other Islamic states are supporting some of these criminals and terrorists because they believe that Nigeria is the gateway to Africa. Once they can conquer Nigeria, they are sure that they can conquer the rest of the continent of Africa. But there are also Western powers. There are covert actions by France, by certain Western powers who have a vested interest in making sure that Nigeria collapses. What do they stand to gain? Our continent will become a playfield of empires as it was for more than 300 years. Africa has the largest reservoir of strategic minerals in the world. We have more than 50% of the proven reserves of strategic minerals in the world, ranging from platinum to industrial diamonds to nickel to rare earths to gold and the rest of it. They covet these resources. Look what they've done to the Congo. I went to DRC Congo and I almost wept. I went to the interior. We think we are blessed. Yes, we are blessed, but no country on earth is as blessed as Congo. No country whatsoever. The soil is so black and so rich. The resources are massive. According to some sources, some estimates, the resources that are embedded in the soil of the Congo amount to about 40 trillion, which is more than the combined GDP of North America and Europe combined in net present value terms. This is extraordinary. But what they've done is to make sure that Congo becomes a comatose elephant so that they can come in and be stealing the resources. There's no government there, effective government. So they can come in. In fact, it was said that for 30 years, France was drilling oil in Congo, and the government of Congo did not even know that they had oil. They didn't know. So Nigeria ranks third in the global terrorism index after Afghanistan and Iraq. And then these are the terrorists and the kidnappers. They are coming closer to Abuja, by the way. They are now in Niger, and it's only a matter of time. And they are so terrible, killing. This is students from Greenfield University in my home state of Kaduna. These 3 were killed out of the about 30 or so that were taken. These 3, for some reason, were killed, and their dead bodies were dumped on the roadside. This lovely girl, this young man, and then this other lovely girl. See what has happened. Look at how we are treating the future of our young people who are the promise of our future. They've ended up their lives like that, wasted their lives in this manner. And this is Benue State Governor, His Excellency, Governor Samuel Iyorare Otong. He has been battling as a single man, as a single voice, like John the Baptist crying in the wilderness. They've been killing his people, torturing Benue people, raping the women, destroying farmlands, killing entire communities. This is what Benue has endured for the last 10 years, and it is yet to stop. The Fulanis believe that God gave them Benue and that Benue belongs to them, and that the Benue people are just supported by all the people of the state, by the judiciary, by the assembly, by the intelligentsia, by women groups, by churches, and the rest of it. Of course, the Caliphate North is very bitter with it because the South has followed suit. Other regions have followed suit. The East, the Middle, the West, and South. They made their Sabbath declaration a few weeks ago, taking a common stand. And we thank God for leaders such as these. I hope that some of you remember this young woman. She turned, I think, 18 recently. That is Leah Sharibu, the young woman from the school in the Northeast that was supposed to be set free. And they asked her a question: we'll set you free only if you renounce Jesus. And her reply was, I shall not deny Jesus Christ. And for saying that, they have kept us as a slave. They have kept her as a slave. They've been raping her. We heard she gave birth to her second child now in her captivity. Please, we must never forget this daughter of Zion, Leah Sharibu. We will never forget you. And I'm moving towards the end now. What has been the attitude of the government? They have been shipping illegal aliens in their millions into Nigeria. When they closed the border in the South for more than a year, they kept the borders in the North widely open. In fact, they are now building a railway to link us to Niger. And the president said last week in an interview that, no, most of his brethren and cousins are in Niger. So therefore, he must create a route where they have a free entry. And of course, what they do is that when they come, they never leave. What they are fighting is a demographic war because they know that democracy is a game of numbers. So they are using these illegal aliens to boost their numbers so that tomorrow it will become a de facto fact that Nigeria is a predominantly Muslim country. In fact, I saw a CIA report just yesterday that now claims that Nigeria's Muslim population is 53%, and that of Christians is about 45%, and the rest are animists. And what they are really trying to say is that, look, if they are the majority, then they must be obliged to rule in perpetuity. And that, in fact, Nigeria can now be declared to be an Islamic country, an Islamic state. There have been no arrests, no commission, even of inquiry. Even when people are arrested, the next few days, they are set free again. In fact, in the so-called de-radicalization program among Boko Haram, they are now integrating them into the military. And you can imagine that. That is why most of our boys sent into the fields, before they get there, they are ambushed on the way and they are slaughtered like rams. Because among them, you have informants who tell them the plans and what the routes are. And they simply waylay these people and slaughter them. They go about disarming vulnerable groups, and the next day, especially in southern Kaduna, once we see them coming to our towns and villages, then we know that their people are coming. Because first they come and disarm people, take away their cutlasses, their den guns, anything else they have, and the next day, the Boko Haram come, they kill, they slaughter, they rape, with nothing for us to defend ourselves. It is a genocidal assault on an unarmed, a people that Nelson Mandela described as an unarmed and defenseless people. This is what has been going on. There is persecution, there's intimidation, there's impunity, and there's a culture of silence. Nobody wants to talk. Even the voice of the church is muted. The voices of elders are muted. We haven't seen people coming out to speak truth to power. I have urged Christians and the church to declare 1 week of fasting. Don't go to work. Don't eat beef. Stay at home and tell Pharaoh to let my people go. If the church could rise up with one voice, Nigeria will shake. They will know who are the true owners of Nigeria. What is the military strategy of the jihadists? They work by what they call taqiyya. Taqiyya means deceit. If you deceive somebody in the name of Islam, in fact, you have a reward. You have a reward in heaven. You have a reward in heaven. So my advice to you, never, 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 never believe anything they say. Prove it and test it with incontrovertible scientific proof before you believe anything, because lying is in their blood and is in their very spirit. And they practice savagery. That is, when they kill unbelievers, they kill them with unbelievable brutality. They send a message in, which is what is typical of terrorists. The savagery of the deed is part of the political statement itself. To impose fear and to create total submission to their hegemonic power and hegemonic rule. And they use surprise. They often come at 2 a.m. when people are snoring very comfortably in their beds. And they have foreign support. There's also cultural jihad. Do you know recently they wanted to change the syllabus, including religion, to teach Christian children that Christ was not really crucified on the cross and that his dead body was stolen and somebody else was put to replace him. And we didn't hear the church shouting blue murder. We didn't hear the church raising hell for this kind of wicked heresy. They've taken charge, they've brought hippies And through EPs now for the payment or for appointment and payment of university salaries, they are now using it to recruit. The vice chancellors have no power now to recruit. It is the federal government that will recruit and send whoever they want. There's a crisis going on in the University of Jos. The federal government want to intervene and decide who is to become vice chancellor of a university like Jos, which is in the middle belt. And they know what traditionally happens. A Christian can never be vice chancellor of Ahmadu Bello University or University of Sokoto or University of Bayero University and so on. So they are waging a cultural jihad. They are muzzling the voices of people using internet, using the National Broadcasting Commission and others. And there is this culture of continuous violence. It's called fitna. It's an Arabic word, fitna. And in Hausa language, it is called pitina. Pitina is that you continue to hound and hound and hound and hound until you surrender and you say, okay, Oyao, you have it for the sake of peace, you have it. That is why Adeshina was announcing very proudly on television, what is your ancestral land useful to you? Give them now, Joe. Well, what is the land useful for if you are dead? For what is ancestral land? Just give it for them, leave it for them for the sake of peace. I'm ashamed of those who call themselves members of the family of God. Then there's propaganda and disinformation and others. I'm almost finishing now. So we've talked, Nigeria is at the brink of disintegration. Who knows, it might disintegrate into 10 countries or 4 countries, who knows? But we are at the brink and we have to be very sincere that this time we have reached the point of no return unless serious action is done. And the government is not helping matters. They have never been apologetic about what they're doing. Many of their policies show precisely that they have a strategic agenda. Former President Chief Olusegun Obasanjo called it the agenda of Fulanization and Islamization. And it is very clear. In such things as cattle colony, when they brought cattle colony, people said no. They now brought the idea of Ruga. People still said no. They're now bringing it through the livestock reform program. They now brought the waterways bill. By waterways bill, the federal government will take every land 7 kilometers on each side that is bordered by a river, that has a river there. This is to hand over to the foreign Fulanis who will settle in these areas because they are very fertile, they can do agriculture, they can also have pasture for their cattle and the rest of it. And we have a government based on exclusion and nepotism. That one goes without saying. All the most important positions are filled by Fulanis, not by Hausas, but by Fulanis. They brought the hate speech. In fact, they were even trying to create a law of capital punishment for hate speech. Can you imagine? But there's no capital punishment for Boko Haram terrorists, but there's capital punishment for hate speech. They have been meddling with the judiciary unashamedly. Then they brought the NIN palaver. This NIN, which they have shifted the dates, up till now, they've shifted the dates again, is to link people's bank details with their telephone and everything. And we understand that the use of this is so that they can be able to locate anybody 24/7. They know exactly where you are. There is nothing you can do once your NIN is linked to your mobile phone. And recently, suspension of Twitter. We consider it an assault also on free speech and of freedom to use technology for business, as a lot of our young people are doing. And then the public response, people have reacted with fear. There's fear throughout Nigeria. There's anxiety. There is trauma. People are committing suicide. Young people are living in droves. Most of them want to go to Canada, they want to go to America, they want to go to Europe. They are risking it across the Sahara Desert. If they survive that one, they may not survive the Mediterranean Ocean. They go into rickety boats that may capsize. And a culture of silence has descended in the country. In a situation of fear, people have been cowered into silence. There is also an element of self-help. People have decided that, look, if the government cannot help us, we have to help ourselves. And I'm a supporter of that theory, to be honest with you, brethren. I have to be honest with you. I am a Christian. I've given my heart to the Lord. I'm born again. Thank God for salvation. Even Malafia means a man of peace. I have never used violence in my life. But I insist that people have a right to defend themselves. Our God is a God of peace. He's the Lord of peace. But he's also the Lion of the tribe of Judah. There is nowhere in scripture that says you should lie down at midnight and some idiots should come in and kill your wife and rape your daughter and kill your son, and you should be watching them. You must use everything available to defend yourself, to defend your family, to defend your wife and children. What is your honor as a man if you cannot defend your family? Do everything to defend your church, defend your community, defend your neighborhood, defend your family. And by the way, our Constitution enshrines in it expressly the right to self-defense. It is not a crime to defend yourself. It is also encrypted in the precepts of international law. International law prescribes that when a community or a people face an existential threat to their very survival, it is incumbent on them. It is both a moral duty as well as an obligation to take such measures as necessary and as proportionate to the threat, to take those measures to defend themselves if the state is unable and or unwilling to come to their defense. It is also prescribed by the rules of universal global ethics, natural justice, and equity. So the regional security outfits, also it has led to demand for self-determination. It led to answers. This young woman at Lekki. Unfortunately, many of them were killed, but they decided to hide the incident. They hide all the evidence. What these people today are very good at, they can kill thousands of people and you will never find one evidence. They will do a blackout, dig a massive grave, bury everything, burn them, bury everything, clean the place, and ask you to produce evidence to show that anybody has been killed. This is what they are doing now. Amotekun in the West has emerged as a regional defense outfit. An Eastern Security Network has emerged in the East. The governors there want to create a separate one, but agitation is ongoing for them to accept the ESN under Ohamadike Nnamdi Kanu, the brave leader of IPOB. Let me be very honest. I sometimes don't agree with some of his rhetoric. I don't agree with it. But I think he's a great man. I think he's a very courageous leader of his people. I think he's a man of conscience. To be able to take a moral stand in defense of your people, I think there is nothing more honorable than that. So in concluding, what is wrong with the Nigerian Constitution? Why do we want restructuring and reform? My stand is that, look, we are at the brink already, and it's irreversible. Unless we take measures to reform the Constitution, reform our economy and make Nigeria work. Even Wole Soyinka, our Nobel laureate, said that a few days ago on an interview, that our only chance of survival is restructuring or political reform. First of all, the 1999 Constitution is a fraud. Its opening statement is that we, the people, whereas in fact, you and I did not stay anywhere to draft this Constitution. Nobody knows who drafted it. It may have been drafted by the devil for all you know. And what happened in 1999 in May was that a day after Obasanjo was sworn in, the next day he will say, come on, where are my powers? What are my powers as president? What are the, my powers, what to do, what not to do as a president? Where's the Constitution? Believe you me, Olusegun Obasanjo only saw the Constitution the next day after he had been sworn in. He had never seen it with his eyes, with his korokoro eyes. He now saw it and was seeing it for the first time. Who wrote that Constitution? Nigerians were eager to see the back of the military. So anything they wanted, they say, oh yeah, we'll take it and go, take it and go, please, please just go. So they imposed a constitution and they put into it all sorts of abuses and egregious injustices and inequities. And we had to just accept it like that. Now, my Muslim Northern Fulani friends have asked me, Obasanjo ruled, you people didn't ask about the new constitution. Yar'Adua ruled, you people didn't ask. Good Lord Jonathan, why is it that it is only Buhari that you are demanding? I told them, and my reply was very simple. When you have leaders of good faith, people can be prepared to live with even a poor constitution. But when you have a very despotic ruler whose ideology is anchored on global jihad, then people will begin to ask, wait a minute, what gives this man the audacity? What a constitution empowers him to commit such horrendous abuses? That is when they begin to ask questions. And that is why we're asking questions today. Secondly, it creates an over-centralized system that is an abuse of the very spirit and letter of federal constitutionalism. And let's be very honest, this is not the time to be politically correct. It is a pro-Islamic constitution. This constitution mentions Islam, Muslims, Sharia, Grand Qadi more than 60 times. But Christianity, church is not mentioned even once. What conclusion can you draw from that? The conclusion simply is that this is an Islamic constitution and Christians have no place in it. It also creates unviable subnational units by over-concentrating most of the aspects of, powers, residual powers are over-concentrated in the federal center as against the subnational units. For that reason, ipso facto, it has no moral as well as political legitimacy. And why should we change it? High cost of governance, we're keeping a bicameral system of government. At state level, you have governor plus commissioners, plus the local level, we have chairman, you have councillors, all of them earning huge salaries with motorcades and so on. To us, that is too costly. We can't afford it. We're not a rich country, for God's sake. Let's cut our coat according to our size. Let us create a governmental apparatus that is cost effective. And the overbearing center, insolvent subnational units, not more than 5 states in Nigeria can survive without federal allocation. Lagos State, Ogun State, Delta State, Rivers State, and another state, possibly Oyo, I think. These are the only states that can survive without federal allocation. So you need federal regions that should be able to be self-sufficient on a fiscal and financial basis. And in turn, there's been a hijack of local governments. And we have not spoken yet. I mean, why should Lagos, with the same population of Kano State, have 22 local governments when Kano, with the same population, has 44 local governments, all of them paid from federal allocation? On what basis do you have such division? So we should create a system where there are regions, and every region should be free to build its own, create its own local governments and finance.
Doctor,
okay.
You have about 3 more minutes, sir.
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, sir.
Okay, I will be concluding. Then you have regional federative and the rest of it. Now, Nigeria was put together in 1914 through amalgamation by Lord Lugard in this very building in Ikotabasi in Akwa Ibom. I was told not more than 10 people were there. They were mostly traditional rulers. The Sultan of Sokoto, the Alake of Egba, Alafin of Oyo, and Emir of Kano, and Obon Calabar, and others. They sat down, agreed to merge the country. The rest of the country was not consulted. So people are saying, look, from 1914 to 2014, it's already 100 years. It's now 100 years plus 6 years or so, or 7 years. This is time to renegotiate that amalgamation and put our federal system in a more balanced and healthy setting. So in concluding, we need to invest in our young people, on women. They're the majority, the girl child, young people, youth, women. We need to invest in them and empower them, bring them into the center of national development. This is my personal convictions. We need to focus on peace, people, power, infrastructures, build world-class infrastructures, economic diversification, investing in small businesses, focusing on agriculture and agribusiness, and security, law and order, national dialogue, nation building, human capital, industrial revolution, power and infrastructure, sustainable development, all of them under the framework of this restructuring. So you have political restructuring, redesigning our federation, devolution of power, and at the base should be a reform of the economic structure, the economic system, so that they work together in tandem and work together in harmony. And we need the transformation of hearts. Democracy is not just about constitutions. It is about love of country and love of people. We need a change of hearts. We need to be more accommodating to each other. We need to disabuse our minds of tribalism, of religious bigotry, of selfishness and wickedness. We need to love Nigeria and seek its common good. Invest in the future of our young people. And as Nelson Mandela would say, it only seems impossible until it's done. And I ask, with John Fitzgerald Kennedy, if not us, who? And if not now, when? Thank you so very much for your patience, patient listening. I thank you very much once again. I'm sorry I extended my time a little bit. This is what you get when you didn't tell me from the beginning what time limits I actually had. But thank you so much for your kind patience. Thank you.
Okay. I thought to say something now.
Sure.
Reverend Linda, please go ahead.
We want to say thank you to you, Dr. Malafia, for this wonderful, long, but deeply articulated exposition on the journey of Nigeria. I've read a lot of the commentaries that I see on the chat page, and so many people are so happy that you have gone to this length and this detail to get us properly educated today. Quite a number of things that
Thank you so
might
much.
have been missing. You have been able to put together for us, and we're so grateful for it. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
We hope you will
you.
still stay till the end of the program, because we're going to be bringing in questions on item 8. We want to make sure the other two guest speakers also are able to give us their submissions so that we can now pull the questions together. Thank you so much, sir. We feel highly honored to have with us today another very eminent personality. He's a retired professor of philosophy and currently a senior research fellow at the Institute of African Philosophy at the University of Ghana, East Legon. He is also a member of the Afenifere group, the socio-political group, and he sits on the Strategy and Political Committee of the Afenifere group. He's also a convener of a team called New Independence Group, a think tank on policy matters. I just want to welcome Professor Akinyemi Kunigbiri, who is going to be talking to us this evening. We're so grateful that you're here, Professor Kunigbiri. Thank you and welcome, sir.
Professor should unmute himself. He's still muted. He should unmute his mic.
Okay.
If you can reach him, he should unmute his mic. Okay, he has unmuted now.
Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Thank you very much.
Welcome, sir.
I'm happy to be here. I've just listened to what amounts to an inaugural lecture from my dear brother, Malafia. Well, he gave us a very succinct history of Nigeria, and I'm happy he cited two works that have been very dear to me in the last 20 years. That is Crimea, This House Has Fallen, and Campbell, Nigeria Dancing on the Brink. Well, as somebody who's been quite close to government, a deputy governor of the central bank, he must know some nostalgic feelings about Nigeria. Given what has happened and what he also identified as the inequities that is in the Nigerian state, which I would once describe as a mere geographical expression. I'm surprised that he's of the opinion that Nigeria is not a mistake. I think it's an accident of history. And he also arrived towards that kind of conclusion when he was rounding up as to those who are present in the so-called amalgamation. I'm sure my dear brother is conscious of the very motivation that created Nigeria. And somebody was looking for a southern lady of means to help balance the budget of the North. That very clearly, nobody ever thought about any mission or vision as to Nigeria. Of course, it's also possible that we may have been able to, even when you live with a terrible wife, you say, or a terrible husband in this case, our women and mothers will say, oh, because of my children, I'm enduring this situation in this man's house. Maybe the issue of whether disintegration will not be talking about it if we have a leader that, in spite of the Constitution, is prepared to run in a benevolence with clear conscience. But I'm not sure we're getting that. I, as a person, really wouldn't be so surprised as I discussed with my friends, and what we are experiencing shouldn't be anything surprise to any student of history. Let us be clear about it. I started my career as an academic in '83 when Buhari first came. Therefore, we knew what he did. If somebody could bring back 3 young men whose offense would have earned them 6 months and tie them to the stake and shot them, that tells you something about the character of such a person. If somebody could keep the vice president of a country in Kirikiri and give the president, the leader, under house arrest, that tells you about the character. And I wonder why a country as blessed as Nigeria will bring back in the 21st century somebody who led power in '85. Between that time and 2015, no single policy statement, no quotable quote, no policy options other than Sharia emanated from him, and you were expecting a change from such a character. I have no sympathy for anybody who expected that. Yet we're talking about 16 years of an administration, but the point is 3/4 of leaders of the same party that they came to want to change, made the party electable. Somebody said he was going to fight corruption, but nobody cared to find out how he was getting the fund to do his campaign, private jet here and there. It doesn't make sense to me. The only thing the present Nigerian leader ever spoke about was Sharia and herdsmen. He came to Augusta State to see Lamadeshino. I don't think he came to complain. A former head of state was saying, "Why are your people killing my people?" The other speaker said so much. We've seen the history. We've seen the very steps where we arrive at the brink. Survive this. Hello? Do you hear me?
There seems to be a little bit of waffling in the voice. And I think it has to do more with the internet. I don't know whether it's coming from your side, but it doesn't matter.
But I can hear you.
Okay.
We are hearing you.
Okay,
we are hearing you, sir.
My point is, the agenda is very clear. The agenda is to create a country for Fulani from the Jalon Island. Because otherwise, why would anybody not think that it is the time to talk about restructuring this country? Nobody really, we want to break down. I don't think people from the Southwest, the Yorubas are never afraid of competition. Anybody who understands the sociology of Yoruba people and psychology of an average Yoruba person, it doesn't mind whether you own a supermarket. Just let him mind his shop. We seem to forget it so easily. Under the First Republic, when we had, yes, a truly somehow federal constitution, the Western region civil servants got paid.
Oh, we have a voice problem.
Network.
Check. Yeah, we lost you, sir. We lost you for a few seconds.
It's muted. It's muted.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Yes. Can you unmute, sir?
It's on now.
Okay. I wonder whether it's a network.
Can you hear me now?
Now we can hear you now.
Okay.
Sure.
Much as I would not wish to think that Nigeria should disintegrate, but I don't think anybody want to live in a slave situation. I don't think anybody wants to live in this present situation without a fight. I'm always very, very bitter when, or somehow amused when I read in the papers, oh, they've killed our people, oh, 10,000 killed. For goodness sake, even under the state of nature, before we agree to civil society by the philosophers' hypothetical state of nature, there were what you call rights in the state of nature where you are entitled to protect yourself. It is because of the possible anarchy that we created the civil society. The state came to be, I will give a part to the Leviathan. Once a state can no longer protect anyone, it is even treasonable on your part to keep on submitting to that state. For me, nobody surrenders power. History does not teach me that you want to negotiate with somebody holding power. No, you have to have a balance of terror. It's only under a condition of balance of terror that anybody will want to negotiate with you. And if anybody is expecting the constitution to be amended to allow for equity, then we're missing it. I'm happy that Dr. Melai alluded to the creation of local government, where Lagos State, when it was created in 1967, was 20 local government. Kano was also 20. Between 67 and now, between Kano and Jigawa, they were talking about 71 local government. And these are all part that constitute the federal constituencies. So you can imagine how many House of Representative members both states will have in the National Assembly. And it was very clear when the Northeast Commission was proposed, it passed. But when Remi Tinubu proposed Lagos State Commission in order to take care of the pressure, being a former federal capital and economic center of the country, it was shut down. It's a game of numbers. It is not by accident that we have a president who chose to create architecture using Muslim and Fulani. Dan Juma was a former chief of staff. He told us in no clear terms that there's a collusion between the military and the so-called bandits. No, let's keep on following the narratives that you have banditries and Boko Haram. No. It's only in terminologies. They are the same. And the idea is to get the country under a Fulani hegemony. So if anybody is still expecting the Nigerian security force to protect it, is wasting time. Why are they always so eager to disarm? Why are they always so eager to run to delegitimize any security apparatus put in place by other regions like Amotekun, Southeast? Show me one single person that has been arrested and tried for all the massive killings that we'll be having in Benue.
Mm-hmm.
When Kanu chose to defend his people, he was quickly named an iPod. Well, I don't think anybody would take that seriously. So at the end of the day, it is balance of terror that will bring everybody back to the table. Even a robber doesn't want to die because he wants to enjoy his loot. So until you are able to make stealing, process of robbery enjoyable, you are not going to have your peace. Let every region take the destiny into their hands, and they should stop lamenting that way. Igangan was forewarned. They knew that the government was going to happen, the police did nothing. The army did nothing. And it even tells you that these guys are not also complicit. Why are we thinking that, oh, they are part of this? I mean, I don't get it. Some of us are far too gone in our age and in our career that you don't have to openly preach certain things. But I don't have sympathy for anybody who is still expecting protection from this country. Let there be balance of terror. Let people go to defend themselves. Dr. Malafia was talking about, oh, they will come 2 days to disarm you. Please, 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 please. I mean, people know how to bury necessary weapons that will be required now. When you know that these people are often coming, why are you putting your weapons where they can easily pick it up? We know what happened during Modakeke and Ife. I was part of a delegate that went to intervene. The amount of weapons in that place, how are they coming in? Let people go and defend themselves and stop lamenting. Let people go defend themselves. This country has failed. It's just a function of semantics. Failed, collapse. People are now being picked on the street. Banditry has become a real business, and these people are not bothered until people went to Hiroko to forcefully allow right to come in. Did not bother, weren't touched. Are we saying they were in the same country? DSS, you can under a particular ethnic group and religion, and we surrender the privileges. Very clearly, after the Atlantic Charter, he was being reminded that, oh, now that we have fought the war, we should give freedom to the Africans. They said, no. He wasn't made Her Majesty Prime Minister to preside over the creation of British Empire. That the Freedom Charter didn't apply to Africa. So I think we need to be very clear about this. This country is simply waiting to go under, unless something, and the only thing that could happen is to restructure. But I'm not too sure whether these people, I mean, for crying out loud, how can a president now talk about grazing routes that as a law? I'm sure that law, some of my lawyer friends said, probably terminated in Kwara State. Even if it extended, even in Kano or Sokoto, is it prepared to destroy most buildings that will have maybe schools, universities, just to create routes for cows? But are we talking about how to sustain cows in this century? How many cows do we really have that's giving us problem? Cow is simply a metaphor for subjugation. We need to be very clear about this. It is not about cows. Cow is a metaphor. It's the Trojan horse to seize land, to occupy space, and put everybody under. I would rather want to stop here now and let me listen to others. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, Prof. We're so grateful. That was quite very frank, coming from the heart and the mind. We would be looking at the rights of reply, but we would we'll call our third guest speaker, Dr. Augusta Anosike. I just want to help us to understand who she is. She is a graduate of industrial chemistry from the University of Ibadan and also a registered pharmacist in the state of Texas. She had a pharmacy education from Texas Southern University. She is a pioneer member of Daughters of Truth. She's a mother of four, a wonderful mother of four, and a loving wife. I want us to welcome Dr. Augusta Anosike. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you so much for having me.
Indeed.
Can you all hear me, please?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, okay. Thank you all so much for having me. I am honored. I am appreciative of the opportunity. And I'm not going to say much because Dr. Obadiah has actually, what he gave us is 2 hours lecture. Trust me, it's a lot. He went in depth, in trying to explain how Nigeria got to where Nigeria is right now. So I'm just going to go to the nitty gritty of what NINAS is doing. In the introduction, you didn't, okay, probably I didn't give that. I'm also a member of NINAS. NINAS is Nigerian Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for Self-Determination, and also a signatory to the Constitutional Force Majeure that held last year. So I'm so happy to be here, and I'm going to be very, very swift because time has already been spent. So today we're talking about disintegration or rebirth, and I want us to understand that where we are right now is either we make it or we break it, either way. But, I just have to tell you the obvious truth. I wouldn't want to use the word disintegration. It's like you're just breaking it in bits and pieces. But I would want to use the word unbundling, that we actually have to extricate ourselves from the unworkable contraption called Nigeria. I know that some people still have the idea of being one Nigeria. It's only Nigeria that they use that terminology, one Nigeria. Other countries, I've never heard one Ghana or one Sierra Leone or one USA or something like that. No, it's only Nigeria you hear one Nigeria. And the reason being that Nigeria, the way it was skewed, Nigeria, the way it was probably formulated, I want to use that word because to me, it's not actually a country. It's not actually a nation. This is something that in 1914, they brought together. They brought the North and brought the South and decided to, amalgamate us and said, okay, you know what? You guys just work together. They did not think about the differences that we have. They didn't think about the religious backgrounds that each of the two protectorates had. They didn't think about probably they didn't. Oh no, let me take that back. They actually thought about something. They knew that the South would provide the wealth. I think she was called the Lady of Means, to marry the poor guy and to be able to sustain Nigeria for their benefit. And that is the British. They are the one that came up with all these things. So right now we have gotten to the brink. We have even gone past the brink. We have gotten to a place of no return. We all have to have that at the back of our minds, that we have gotten where we cannot just go back. All we need to do is to move forward. So first of all, I want to, start mildly to tell you that one of the reasons, the thing that has hurt us and the carnage that is happening presently in Nigeria is as a result of the 1999 Constitution. This Constitution, the way it was written, it was skewed in such a way to protect the northern region. And when I'm talking about the northern region, Middle Belt initially used to be termed as North, but right now they have kind of like extricated themselves from that region. And the northern region that I'm talking specifically about is the Sharia, the 12 contiguous states that have adopted Sharia. They did that in 2000. Mm-hmm. So this is the map of Nigeria. I don't know if y'all can see it. I'm sorry I didn't prepare a PowerPoint. I didn't know how effective that would be, but if y'all can see this map, you see the yellow area. This is the Sharia territory. That is the Sharia territory. It means that these 12 states, these are the core northern states. They have actually succeeded from the country called Nigeria because they felt that they needed to, form their own religious group. They needed to do something that is different from the secular country that Nigeria is or supposed to be. So they went with Sharia. And when they went with Sharia, we had President Obasanjo was the president then. They told him that, they are going with Sharia. At first, he said, don't worry. A lot of people, there was a cry out about it, and it was like, don't worry, it's going to fizzle out. People will, don't worry about it, it's not a problem. But guess what? These 12 states went ahead at the same time and adopted Sharia. They not only adopted Sharia, they have also registered Nigeria in OIC, that is the Organization of Islamic Countries. So Nigeria is a member of OIC already. And Nigeria is supposed to be a secular state, correct? But guess what? She is a member. Okay, let me use the word. It is a member. I don't want to use she for Nigeria because it hasn't benefited me anyways. If it has, I wouldn't be in America. So she ended up being part of the OIC. And everybody looked on. You know, we all kept quiet as Dr. Badaya said. He said that the military decadence that happened within that period made it possible for us to just be like, sit down, they look, while they do whatever they needed to do. Because all of us at the time, we just wanted some form of freedom, no matter how it was given to us. So the Constitution is the core, the main problem. The 1999 Constitution, where we are right now, that is what is affecting every Tom, Dick, and Harry. That is where our problem lies. And if we do not pull down that Constitution, we will just be going up and down, talking from both sides of our mouth, thinking that probably this would work or that would work and all that. So the Constitution is one of the problems that we have. And also, I want to let you know that the intention, like Professor Odubide said, that the Fulanis have intention already. They have one agenda, and the agenda is to conquer the entire territories. They have that agenda already. So let us not get it twisted or start having these pitiable feelings about Fulanis, oh, that they're all nomads and no. Of course, they are nomads. These people, were able to find out through moving up and down with their cows and cattle, determine the GPS of the entire territory. And that is why they came back in full force, and they are massacring, they are killing, they are raping, they are doing all sorts of things to get that land that their forefathers gave to them. Remember, immediately after the independence, I think it was Ahmadu Bello that said that land that their forefather Uthman and Fodio gave them the land, and that no southerner will be able to rule themselves. They won't be able to rule themselves, and they will be there, and they will use the willing tools of the probably the middle belt to continue to do whatever they needed to do. So this has been part of what they have been doing. And we have to understand, I remember listening to Dr. Obadiah. He said that the northern people are predominantly very, very poor. The reason being that they believe in one system and one system alone. They practice what is called feudalism, where there is a master-servant situation. You understand? They have the masters, then they have the almajiris that go up and down with plates to beg for money and all that. That is how they want to live their lives. But the remainder of us that are Nigerians, we want democracy, where it is going to be the party of the people, for the people, or the government of the people, for the people, and by the people. Feudalism is way different from what democracy is all about. So they are more interested in master-servant situation. And as far as I'm concerned, they believe that they have all the authorities, everything that that country produces. They have everything in their own, to continue to decimate us as they wish, because this has already been given to them by their forefathers. So we need to understand that and differentiate that as well. So we have to realize this fact. It's a fact that we are going through what is called existential threat. Let us not sugarcoat it. Oh, they are having herders and farmers. They are having bandits. They are having whatever. No, they have one agenda and one agenda alone. And that agenda is to decimate the entire region. They want to take Nigeria, because if they could take the wealth that Nigeria has, they will be able to further their jihad or jihadist intention. So that is the number one agenda. It has not changed. It has not changed. It's all about that number one agenda of conquering people don't care about restructuring. They just want to conquer your land, take everything that you have in your land, and continue to project their jihad intentions. That is what it's all about. Conquest. That's it. They are not interested in the union. So let us not even start, going whether we should, get together or not. No. They have one particular agenda, and that is it. How do we avoid the carnage? As I said earlier, the 1999 Constitution is a fraudulent document that was written. And when this document was written, even President Obasanjo did not swear on that Constitution. I think it came back a few days later. It was not even printed. I don't know how they did the magic. So, and people did not, it was not adopted, or it was not subjected to referendum. People did not have access to that Constitution to read through what that Constitution says and how we would want ourselves to be governed. So we didn't have that opportunity. Majority of us did not have that opportunity. They just brought a Constitution through the back door, and it became the law of the land. And in that Constitution, the preamble said that we the people, let me get the preamble out for you. It said that we the people, we have, hold on one second. Okay, the preamble said that we the people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, having firmly and solemnly resolved to live in unity and harmony as one indivisible and indissoluble sovereign nation under God, dedicated to the promotion of inter-African solidarity, world peace, international cooperation and understanding, and to provide for a constitution for the purpose of promoting the good government and welfare of all persons in our country on the principles of freedom, equity, and justice, and for the purpose of consolidating the unity of our people. Do hereby. It means that for them to have the preamble as we the people, haven't done all this to have the Constitution, it means that we have signed our damnation to the hands of those people. And we didn't do that. The Constitution was not subjected to any form of plebiscite or any form of referendum. We did not do that. So the idea of we the people signing off our woes does not make sense. So that is why that Constitution has to come down. Now, as I brought out this map before, we already have the alliance territories. The alliance territories are those of us in the Southwest, the Middle Belt, and those of us in the Lower Niger area. The Lower Niger area consists of those from the South-South. They came with their divide and rule mentality and decided to, share us and break us anyhow they want. But those of us in the Lower Niger area were from the South-South, some of from the Southeast, and some parts of the Midwest, which are parts of the Lower Niger area. Then we have the people from the Yoruba nation or from the Southwest. Then we also have the people from the Middle Belt. They came together and decided to form what we have as NINAS. And prior to that time, there were solemn assemblies that were held, like it was the Lower Niger that held theirs first in 2015. Then we have the Yoruba nation or the Southwest that held theirs in 2017. Then we have the Middle Belt that held their own solemn assembly in 2018. So after that, by December of 2018, they all came together and consolidated and became NINAS. And with that, we have been working together, trying to see how to get the 1999 Constitution down so that every part of the region, all the regions will be able to go back to their nest, think of what they want to do, write their own constitution, and if they want to get back to the union, they can decide to come back to the union and say, okay, you know what? We are still going to be one Nigeria, if they supposedly want to do that. And if they don't want to do that, they can walk away from the union. So that's the essence of what NINAS is doing. And some people have always, described NINAS as people that are trying to succeed. And I'm saying, no, we are not succeeding. Remember that we are the owners of the land. The land belongs to us. What we are asking for is self-determination. That is what we are asking for. We are not asking for us to succeed. We're already in our space. So why would you succeed out of your space? You understand? But for that to happen, every ethnic nationality have to be in their own ancestral land. Like the Yoruba man will be in Yoruba land. The Igbo man will be in Igbo land. The Ijaw man, Efik, Anang, Ibibio, the Middle Belters, everybody will be in their own land. The TV, the Biram, everybody will be in your own ancestral land for this self-determination process to happen. And guess what? It has happened before in South Africa when they found out that the Constitution of South Africa was the thing that held South Africa in the bondage that they were for so many years. So what they did was to pull down that constitution before they now had the little relief that they have, or the most relief that they have right now, that the owners of the land could have access to their land. Because in those days in South Africa, you as a black man, you cannot, even though the land belongs to you, you are not the owner. A white man will come over, take your land and treat you as a slave. So it was pulling down the 1999 constitution, I'm sorry, the apartheid constitution of South Africa that made that possible. And that is the solution, the pathway of which Ninas is telling us that let us get that constitution down first. Because guess what? The constitution has about 68 items on the exclusive list. Those 68 items make it impossible for you to generate electricity. Remember, we were watching Dr. Obadiah, and guess what? NEPA took light and was complaining. It doesn't make sense that a country of that magnitude up till now it was celebrated about 4 megawatt, whatever of electricity. I think it was last year or previous year. It doesn't make sense. While we are, those of us that are living abroad, I can't remember the last time that, you know, the light went off. You understand? Except if there is some form of tsunami or whatever, those ones are understandable. So that is what we have been saying. We cannot continue to do this. So with what Ninas is doing, we are hoping that at the end of the day, there will be at least on the minimum, there'll be about 4 emerging federations on the minimum. That's what we are looking at. You understand? So whether we need a rebirth, as the topic rightly said, or we want to disintegrate, the truth about the matter is that Nigeria has gotten to a situation where every man on his own, and we have to figure that out by going through a process, the UN UNDRIP, we call it the UNDRIP, United Nations Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. This was constituted, I think, in 2007. That was when it was made available. And that is the template that the Ninas has been using. So when we did that, last year we did the constitutional force majeure, telling the federal government about our grievances about the constitution, why this constitution has to come down, so that the indigenous peoples can decide on their own whether they want to remain in the union or whether they want to pull out of the union. So that was what we did in I think December 16, 2020. And from there, 90 days was given to the federal government to look through these things and, you know, comply. But, you know, the way with the Buhari guy, I know probably he has otitis media. He doesn't listen. Things don't move him except things that have to do with Niger Republic, where he is taking almost every income that comes through Nigeria to Niger. He's actually building up Niger Republic. So for those that are saying, let us restructure, Niger Republic is being built at your own expense. So how do you restructure that kind of a thing? So it doesn't make sense. So that is what we're trying to say. So we had given them 90 days, nothing happened. Then 30 days for the governors and the politicians to get together and be part of the transition. And in all honesty, they actually started fidgeting, you know, like, wow, these people are really serious. They started fidgeting and they're like, you know what? They started saying, okay, let us review the constitution. If you're watched lately, they've been trying to review the constitution. And you are like, the National Assembly does not even have a right to review constitution. The National Assembly does not have the right to even write constitution. Constitution belongs to we, the people. We are the deciders of how we want ourselves to be ruled. And if we want a new constitution, we have to go through our different regions, write the constitution that will benefit us, the kind of constitution that will go through referendum. People will vote either yes or no on what they want, you know? So they're thinking that, oh, they could come back and say, hey, we can review the constitution, we can amend the constitution. How can you amend the fraud? We have told you that the 1999 constitution is a fraud because we, the people, did not approve it. We didn't write it. We don't know when it was written. It was through Decree 24, they brought the 1979 constitution and made it the 1999 constitution. So we did not, it was not proofread. Nobody read it. It was not even printed out when Obasanjo swore. So nobody even know how we could continue to bask in that, no, we will continue to dwell in something that is impeding our progress. So it doesn't make sense. And in that constitution, as I told you before, it has about 68 items on the exclusive list that goes directly to the federal government. Then about 30 items on the concurrent list that, you know, the state has power to a certain extent, and the federal government can override the state's power. So if you see what I'm saying, you find out that about 98 items are on the exclusive list. And the government is always telling you, oh, what does the Constitution say? What does the Constitution say? They keep telling you about it because they are using that Constitution to run us down. We have lawyers, we have those people that, I'm not a lawyer, but you know, from the little that I've read, we have lawyers, we have a senior advocates. They know these things, but maybe due to fear or intimidation, they can't come out openly and condemn that Constitution. They're supposed to condemn the Constitution and say, hey, this Constitution does not make sense, because first of all, we the people did not write it. It has our signature, but we didn't even sign it. We didn't even see it, let alone to sign it. So that is what we're saying. And with that 90 days gone, 30 days gone, we are now at the 120 days that we gave the people, that is we the people, telling the federal government that, hey, you have to come to the table right now, because guess what? Whether you like it or not, we still have to discuss this. Because in 2019, there was a UN repertoire that was sent to Nigeria to even find out what was going on. Her name is Agnes Kalamad. She came down and looked at the Nigerian Constitution and said, this is a pressure cooker of injustice, that nobody can live like this. Nobody can live like this. And this happened with the fact that the Lower Niger Congress and some other group went to Washington in January to, I think January to July of that same 2019, to tell Washington that, hey, this is what is actually going on in Nigeria. Because initially, they thought it was just the herders and farmers clash. They said, oh, it's just, you know, it's a communal clash thing, you know. Even CNN was reporting it. Oh, it's a communal. Everybody was just reporting what they knew nothing about, until our own barrister Tony Nadi, had the opportunity to get in with the committee, with the Congress, and told them and explained in details what is actually happening in Nigeria. How America thought that they have defeated Boko Haram, or they thought that they have defeated ISIS actually, only to find out that ISIS has combined with Boko Haram in Nigeria to form ISWAP. So when they looked at this, they were like, whoa, could that be true? They were able to do their own investigation. And by June the 2nd, 2020, President Trump actually gave an executive order about what is going on in Nigeria. He wrote an executive order from the information that they gathered. And they found out that Nigeria is already at its brink. And this time, you know, when Dr. Obadiah was talking, he was saying that, oh, we've had one brink, second brink, third brink. But this time there's no going back. Nigeria has gotten to its limits. You understand? So that is what, you know, we are trying to say in essence. So with the 120 days that we have given, it is power to the people now have the right to start demanding. And that is where you will see all our Yoruba brothers and sisters going on the street to do rally. They are doing rallies, talking about Oduduwa nation, they're talking about self-determination, they're talking about Yoruba nation, because guess what? They're tired. How do you explain in a country of 200 million people, you have, what is it called? Let me show you one. I saw that and I was like, oh, no wonder some of us, we found it so difficult to make while the sun shines while we're in Nigeria. A country like that made it impossible for those that are making, there was this result, the Union School something, I think it's common entrance examination that just came out. And you could see the cutoff point for somebody from Imo, it has to be 138. Somebody from Anambra has to be 132. Somebody from Lagos has to be 136. But somebody from Yobe has to be 2. Does it make sense? Somebody from Yobe had to just this is the Please. So somebody from Yobe had to be 2. Sokoto is 9. Taraba is 3. This is the score sheet, the cutoff point. And at the end of the day, is the guy from Yobe and Taraba and Sokoto that will now come and lead those of us that are getting 130 something has scored. Does it make sense? It does not make sense. So with the 120 days we have given, it will last in August 17, 2021. We have gotten to the stage where our people have to come out and say exactly what they want. And that is the process is telling all our political parties to close shop. All of them have to close shop. The 2023 election, we need to forget it. And what I'm saying, I'm not saying boycott because people kind of like, they mix those up. They feel that, oh, don't worry, 123 comes, we will not go and vote. No, what we are saying is that don't even make it possible for that 23 to happen. We can close the political shops. We can close the political shops now. Excuse me, sorry. Hold on 1 second. We can close the political shops right now and tell our people what to do. So that is why we don't want people to get carried away. Let's start talking about closing shop for all the political parties, because guess what? If election happens again, you are given 4 years, another 4 years of this carnage. You are given another 4 years to that constitution. And that is why it must not happen. So the process of closing shop, we have the domino 1 and the domino 2 effect. I don't know if y'all can see this, if y'all can see this. With the domino 1, we have the union being Nigerian. We have the constitution, which is a fraudulent constitution that has been repudiated with the CFM. Then we have election. So this is how it is. And at the bottom here, you could see all the alliance territories here. They are pushing down on this, what is it called? On this little table. And once they push down, it will fall yakata like this. It means that the election will not take place, thereby pulling down the fraudulent constitution and thereby collapsing the union. That is what we are looking forward to. And that is where the stage that we are right now. So while the Yorubas are out there doing rallies, those of us from the lower Niger area, we are doing what is called a charter of relationships. We are talking and discussing about what to do. And those in the middle belt, because the Yorubas are homogeneous. They are homogeneous. They have one language, they're monolithic. But those of us in the lower Niger area, we are heterogeneous. We all have different languages that we speak. So charter of relationship is going on as we speak in both the lower Niger area and the middle belt. And I just want to tell you that this is what has been achieved so far. You understand? We have this table, I show it all the time in my videos. We have this table, it is the 16 steps that we had to take. Right now, we are at the 15th. The 15th step, this the green one is the 15th step. We're able to combine both the 14th and the 15th because of the COVID-19. COVID-19 disrupted a lot of things that have been, that were going on. So we were able to combine 14 and 15. So right now, that is the stage we are right now. And we just have one, once the 15th is done, then we'll have one more step to go. And that step will lead to referendum. So that is why we all have to go out there and make sure that people do not campaign or say, oh, let us get into election, let us get into 2023. We are telling everybody now, any form of election, especially the general election, should be shut down. Do not support any election. You cannot continue to support your own pain. You cannot continue to support your own damnation. It does not make sense. So we all have to go out there and say, we no longer want that 2023 election. It's not going to take place. And we're talking about it not taking place now. We're not waiting for 2023 to happen before we would do that. And that is why we'll have to do that. So I think I have been able to exhaust some of these things that I have to say, unless you all have questions, but I need one more. I need to say one more thing. First of all, I want to thank Dr. Badaya and Professor Kunigbiri, but I also want to tell Dr. Badaya that please help us stop promoting Nnamdi Kanu. Nnamdi Kanu is not fighting for our freedom. He's actually the one impeding our freedom. I didn't like to say it here. A lot of people were like, oh, why am I don't know, but I just needed to say it here Nnamdi Kanu is after our freedom. He's not for, he's against the freedom. He is only making money off of our people's, because our people are emotional about Biafra. They all want Biafra today and tomorrow. So he is reaping so much. I was his coordinator, so I can tell you up front, we had to really fight him the last time. Yeah, we sponsored him to come to Houston. He came to Houston. We asked him, what plans do you have for our people? And what he told us is that, don't worry, by the time they kill 8 million of us, that the UN would, have pity on us and declare Biafra. UN cannot declare Biafra because the first thing they would ask you when you get to UN is that, what map are you presenting? That's the first question. And he doesn't have any map. Then they will ask you, what territories, the indigenous people, who are the indigenous people in the Biafra that you're talking about? So Nnamdi has no agenda. He hasn't been anywhere. I want you all to please stop bringing him. When it comes to the Eastern region, we don't need him. The ESN informed was to get our people killed. Yes, that is his plan. He told us he was here in Houston. I want to say this, in short, I don't want to go further than that, but he was here in Houston telling us that he needed 8 million of us, since 3 million were killed and nothing happened. He wanted to be 8 million so that something would happen. So please, you all stop praising that guy. He's actually against our freedom. He's making money off of us and he's getting paid by the politicians. Leave the charade, he's just having fun. That is it, but it's to our own detriment. So I want to stop here. If you all have any other question, I'll be more than happy to answer. Thank you all so much. Thank you.
Well, we thank God for Dr. Anosike Augusta. We have been seeing your work with Ninas. I've been seeing some of the clips that you have been sending. And we are very grateful. We really must commend your courage because Ninas is a novel idea. And our brother, Barrister Tony Nadi, has been on this platform before, which he made some very, very useful contribution. So we are also glad to have you, and we continue to pray that you guys would make great success in what you are doing, because we can see you have charted a path of peace for resolution of all these issues. And more than any other group, you are also talking about integration. You're talking about an alliance region. You're talking about not secession, but integration. That makes a lot of sense to a lot of people. So like I told Dr. Barrister Tony Nadi when he was here, he can count on us. We are in full support of the direction he has taken. And we continue to hope. We are not interested in any other thing, but to gather Nigerians together to pursue democracy, good governance, and the rule of law. So we really appreciate you, man. Thank you so much, man. Right now, we want to now give. Barrister Tony Nadi is here. He's waving his hand. I have to take him. I can't have such a person on board and don't take him. So please, Mr. Tony Nadi, I saw your hand.
Yes, sir.
I think I'm putting you on the platform now. Please, can we quickly take your comments or question?
Thank you.
Any other thing?
Yeah.
You are welcome. Like I told you before, you are always welcome on this platform.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much. And just a solidarity. I'm in the midst of 2 other meetings, but seeing this subject matter and the people associated with us who are on the platform speaking, my very good friend, Dr. Malafia. I didn't listen to the beginning of his presentation, but I got bits and pieces of it. I'm sure he would have done some great job. I was reading through the questions, the comments, and the reason I decided to speak was to clarify a few things emanating from those questions. What Ninas has put forward is a mechanism to take on the entire quagmire Nigeria has become for everybody. And it didn't happen overnight. It was a 20-year plan, like Dr. Anosike has shown us, that has culminated in something that we have to put a time frame on when these things have to be consummated, have to be concluded. Because the people, according to that map we saw, the people who have embraced Sharia and who are feudalists, on the two fronts were already guilty to be killed. As infidels in their eyes, they owe it a duty of faith to kill all of us, and we've seen them doing so. The man who is president now is their champion. He's not making any pretenses about it. But that's on the lower level. The bigger trouble is the Fulani element in it. And I can report to us that by the time we went into Washington to tell them exactly what it was, away from all the false narratives of farmers and herdsmen clashing, or banditry, or poverty in the Northeast, or community clash, as the IG of the time wanted to convince everybody, we went to tell them that it was an ethnic campaign wearing the garment of religion, because their numbers, the Fulani numbers in Nigeria, are not even nearly enough to take on the rest of Nigeria. What the big problem they have now is that nobody had ever tried to organize the rest of the country. Everybody they were tormenting, because as they are killing in the Middle Belt, they are killing in Yoruba land, they are killing in Ijo land, they are killing in Igbo land. And the constitution they imposed, if we go back to how we came about the 1999 constitution, we will immediately see the 1979 constitution. We will immediately see it was from Murtala Mohammed. We again go back to how he began in 1967 when they toppled the constitution that made us a federation. So when you trace it like that, you will see that the 1979 constitution was basically the victory charter from that war. And in the manner they crafted it, yes, it was Eastern region that was first targeted in 1967, but all the powers that were now accumulated by the center made it possible for them to seize the assets of the rest of everybody. And so Yoruba is crying today, looking for the way out. Middle Belt is crying today, looking for the way out. And so in that setting, the monster we have to contend with is actually an ethnic campaign. Let nobody reduce it to religious, because if you reduce it to only religious, you are going to miss the main point. It is a Fulani agenda, bringing Fulani from all over Africa to create a homeland for them in the Nigeria that belongs to you. And the mechanism for being able to do that is to confiscate everything that has to do with gun that is already, sequestered to the federal government. Now Fulani has hijacked that federal government, taking control of all the 3 arms, taking control of all the agencies that carry arms, taking control of all the control points for movement of resources in terms of money, taking control of everything at every, almost coming vertical down to, grabbing as many states. In the states where they don't have control, they find a way. See what happened in Imo, see what we have seen in Cross River. We don't know the kind of things they do underground because there are small skeletons they can use. So in all of that, they are in complete control of the center. They're in control of almost 65 to 70% of the states, even the ones you thought belong to you. Look at what happened in Anambra, where ABGA went to submit themselves to APC in a kind of a situation that has now enabled them counter Anambras where they could have a foothold. They are coming down to local government. What they have presented to you as local government autonomy is an attempt to also get direct control of the local government by that federal government controlled by the Fulani. So that when INEC begin to conduct election in your local governments, all those Fulani that you don't know were Fulani at all, hanging around for instance, in Southern Kaduna, all these people that have bred in your midst, people whose loyalty lie with them, are the ones they will implant as council chairman. And there's nothing they cannot do because the council chairmen are no longer going to be looking at the governors. It is whatever the Abuja that brings the money and that controls the election tells them to do, that they're going to do. So the remedy to the situation, every day we keep that constitution alive, we are living in the hands of the Fulani, an instrument by which they can complete their conquest mission. There's no other thing going on. They have shared all the lands, mapped it out all the way to Boni in squares. And the people you call Fulani herdsmen are the advanced teams from the Fulani of Senegal and Mali and Chad, all of wherever they came from. They have been asked to go in and get ready to take their own portion. They call it their inheritance. And if at the time we are this close to being able to, because that constitution going down means the end of the union that brings us together with them. And we're not anarchists, that's why we offered them transition. We offered everybody transition to say, you have 4 years. Let us accept that this union agreement that you forged is not going to be able to carry us any further. And if anybody is thinking that people are going to be intimidated into submission, let such people have a rethink, because when people get fired upon, it comes to where they have no other thing to do than to get weapons, like we've seen in Benue. The governor there has asked them to go look for whatever they can get. It will go around. And I tell you, we better realize that we are up against something that is moving every hour closer to us. When they are pushing us towards election, it is because they see we have defeated that constitution. The only way to infuse life back to that constitution, to keep the union of death, is to throw power to the south. Tinubu will be candidate here, Mogalu may be candidate there, so Igbo and Yoruba will begin to fight over who will get the crumbs. Meanwhile, that constitution will be the basis of governing if we go to election in 2023. And the winner, no matter who, whether it's my twin brother that wins, he will have to swear to and govern by that constitution. The 36 states will remain. The 68 items of exclusive list will remain. All of the things that create corruption and protect the beneficiaries will remain. And so all the political parties in Nigeria today subscribe to that 1999 constitution. To that extent, they are on the side of the enemy. And it is because of what they get personally. But 200 million people are trapped here, at least 150 million in the alliance territory. Is it because of these 1,500 people who might become governor and senator or even president that will now lay 150 million open to the kind of slaughter that is ongoing? The global community is working hard. The US has taken a position. The EU and UK have been brought to that position in asking Nigeria to go and do exactly what we proposed on December 16th. That's what they have said. And our own people who are in that danger are still discussing how to go and win the election that Buhari will conduct in 2023. We've told the people in that danger to say, before you begin to look for any Fulani man, if the danger around you is increasing, the people, the first targets, the people you have to look for and deal with in any manner you deem fit, whatever you will have done to a herdsman, if you saw him face to face, do it to anybody who is inviting you to election in 2023. We're not talking about municipal and local elections. Whatever happens to the general situation will happen in Anambra. So we're not talking about Anambra or any of these other states that elections may happen before 2023. Our focus is on 2023 that will be conducted, if it happens, on the basis of that 1999 constitution. Our people will be slaughtered in great numbers if by the close of the third quarter of 2021, we've not shut down the journey to 2023. The Fulani has no stake in that election, but they need to put us in that slumber of thinking we're going towards election. They will have the peace of the balance of these 2 years to continue their onslaught. And by the time we get to that election, we'll discover too late in the day that it wasn't because they wanted to hand power to anybody that they are dragging us to election. They're just looking for how to infuse life back into that constitution. If we choose to allow them, it will then be a choice to die. It will be a choice to be enslaved. It will be a choice to be conquered. It is as straightforward as that. Anybody who is telling us to come to go and get power from going to election in 2023, I will be happy to have such a person on a set so that we can ask such a person like the Kingsley Mogalo and the kind of people who are going about to say they are going to do this and going to do that. How are they going to do it? With the structure that is imposed by that constitution. It's not possible. They are illiterate and dishonest because we've engaged most of them to tell them this is what the problem is. They are not listening. They are not bothered about the number of people that are being killed. They don't know the wider scheme that ISIS is here at the invitation of our president. And we've gone to the places where the world powers sat down for 7 months and listened to us and spoken in Congress, in the House, in the Senate, at the State Department. The US has rolled out policy that give us a leeway to get these things done. And after the force majeure, we've seen what they've done. They came out to tell Nigeria, please put guns out of the table. This is not matter for gun, not your own guns, not our own guns. Call a meeting of the people, the owners of the land, go into dialogue so that they can work out fresh legal instrument for the US and the EU and the UK to be telling Nigeria this kind of a thing in April 2021, and our people are still discussing election. They are shocked in the world capitals that we could be in the midst of death and not be bothered. So the matter of Sharia has become preliminary objection before we begin to think of Nigeria. Our concern for now is just Nigerians. Our concern are those who are trapped in this union of death. Our concern are those who are facing the existential threat of annihilation, of extermination by people who are bent on taking their lands and killing them off. And it's not a plan that is to happen tomorrow. It is a plan that's already been executed ferociously. Our borders have been thrown open. We had the Buhari say so. We saw the governor in Bauchi telling us that Fulani from everywhere belong here. We saw the number of them that have come in already. We see the things they are doing. And we see all of what the armed forces and security services of Nigeria controlled by them are doing. We see what is happening to our own soldiers from the alliance territory, officers. I went to the NDA, I went to the university from the NDA. So I'm not a stranger to the officer, to the military of Nigeria in the 3 arms. My class, the man who is chief of army staff today is in the one of the, so I'm talking about mates. They talk to me from the war front. I'm reporting to us now that they are being exterminated even in that uniform. And if that is what we're confronted with, and the advertising election, we saw Yakub coming out, rolling out where they're going to have it. They want to drag us into the debate of election. We saw the British High Commissioner that came to Nigeria, went to Port Harcourt, and was talking about if anybody disrupt journey to 2023, and we had to call her out to say, who sent you on that kind of a mission? She has stepped out of her diplomatic bounds, and we had made a representation to the UK government to recall her, because they are all struggling to help the Fulani to drag us to 2023 election at a time we're saying we will not go to election. If our people will not listen to us, those who are doing political party, we are going to unleash these young people who came out the other time, all the people who are feeling this bite of Nigeria, people who have been shot at. We're going to ask them to face the political parties and get them out of the way by whatever means. If they refuse to listen, if all of us join hands and say we will not go to renew our enslavement in 2023 under this constitution, it will take us 2 months from today to get rid of this constitution according to what we saw in that Domino 1 and 2. But if we refuse, because a few of us want to go and be senator and governor, we will very gladly sacrifice those people. Those political, because we're discussing issues of life and death here. If anybody has any better answer for how we can put an end to this invasion, to this killing, to this expropriation, to this enslavement, to this bondage, let us discuss it now, not when the matter becomes rowdy. The political parties that are gearing up for election in 2023 will be the first line of target if things get worse than they are now. We are shouting. They believe they can find some way, or they believe that Fulani will overrun the whole of the country if we come to a rifle show. That's not going to happen. I think we can leave it here.
We are glad for the intervention of Barrister Tony Nadi, Secretary of Minas, and the convener of the Lower Niger Congress. I think some of the people that were speaking on the platform did not understand Dr. Anosike when she was talking about the Lower Niger Congress. Lower Niger Congress is just a group that have been looking at a patriotic posture for the nation, not just for Lower Niger. So they are not forcing or creating a Lower Niger for Edo or anybody to join in or anything like that. So don't let us be crossing path and getting things mixed up. They have been laying an agenda for national rebirth. If you are used to them, you will know all that they have been doing. Yes, Dr. Anosike was showing us that their map there. Yes, so please, let's not get these things mixed up. They are purely just nationalistic. They are not forcing any group to come together or anything of that nature. So, because I saw a post there by one Ghani that was placed there. So we thank God for all the contribution. We want to move quickly to the session of question and answer. We have greatly exceeded our time frame today. I don't know how we are going to cope, but we have to give room to a few questions and answers to go to our various speakers. If I may remind our audience again, we had Dr. Malafia that came up first, Obadiah Malafia that came up first, and he spoke extensively, took us through the historical crisis that we have been coming through, that we have always been on the brink. But this time, we have been more on the brink than we have ever been before. I will call Abiodun Olomola. Just hold on for me. I will call you. You can keep your you can keep your hand raised. Keep your hand raised so that I will remember. And then he went into the solution, pointing out that there is a clear religious undertone to all this. Also added some other things. It was not just religious. Some on the platform say it's just a religion. No. Dimension. And we had a doctor that spoke after him, who helped us to point out the fact that the issue we are dealing with is also a very, very strong ethnic issue. The attempt by one ethnic group to overrun the other ethnic groups, and that the agenda is very obvious. We should not deceive ourselves. Actually, he pointed out some few things which were very striking and which I want to repeat here. Number one is that how come we brought Buhari back when between the time he left office and the present time he was brought back, he made no policy statement, no contribution to national discourse, nothing whatsoever. And yet, what influenced us? This shows some problem with our thinking. Number two, he raised the point that the agenda of the present government is very, very clear. Is claiming Nigeria for the Fulanis. We should not be prevaricating about that. And then finally, he said, if anyone expects any issue of amendment of the present constitution to bring anything of equity or fairness into the game, then that person is setting himself up for disappointment. And then Dr. Augusta pointed out the agenda of NINAS, the program, the deadlines, the dates, and how they have been meticulous in following it. Particularly and of great interest was what she showed us about the alliance territory, the alliance territory. This was what I've been missing in all the other discourse, that for the first time, and I think this is where many of us should concentrate our questions, that for the first time, alliance is being built from the west to the south, south to the southeast, and to the middle belt, and that this alliance is invincible and cannot be defeated by any other form of unjust political arrangement. And then she also spoke clearly, which was very encouraging, that NINAS and the agenda is not for secession, but it's for bringing us together. So that is where we are. I sense my co-host was going to say something, so let me give way to her. Reverend Linda, I thought you were going to say something just now.
No, I think you should carry on.
Oh, okay. So
Yes.
I will be calling on these two people. Uncle Yinka is our friend in AFD. I was welcoming him specially. He will need to talk with Dr. Ajibowo and ourselves to let him know what we have been doing. But right now, I want to call on Abiodun Olomola to ask his question before we now call on Uncle Yinka Quadri. Abiodun Olomola, please.
Okay. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to ask this question. My question is really to Dr. Malafia. Having followed and listened to the programs and the deadlines of the Alliance territory, right now, according to what Dr. Anosike said, is that we are at the last leg of the program, and if we do not, if we are able to galvanize ourselves, now we can, the domino, something can fall, and the whole system will get crashing to the floor. Now, in regards to the agitation for the Oduduwa Republic, we can see the determination of the Oduduwa in trying to educate and bring the consciousness of this program into the heart and the mind of the people, to let them know that there will not be, to let them know that this election must not take place. That's the aim, just to tell them, to bring the awareness before the final onslaught. But apart from that, I know it's a bit difficult in the Southeast to actually, because they're already motivated, they're already aware, but it's only that the federal government is very heavy-handed on them in the Southeast. But when it comes to the north, to the middle belt and the south, I cannot see any kind of a similar program or motivation among the populace, apart from the elites who are talking. But from the ordinary people, I cannot see, because I've got some of the South, I'm from Southwest. I've got some of the South people as friends. I cannot see the determination or the enthusiasm from them, despite the fact that we are all suffering from this oppression of the Fulani agenda. And my question is actually to Dr. Malafia. How, because it's going to be difficult in the middle belts, because already you have been tightly infiltrated by these Fulani. Some of the, for example, look at Kaduna State. I mean, we have
to make your question brief, sir. You have
yes.
to make your question brief, sir.
Okay, my question is, what effort is being made, especially in the middle belts, to galvanize the ordinary citizens of the middle belt to resist, to ensure that this coming election will not take place? Dr. Malafia, please.
Okay, before Dr. Malafia answers that question, because of time, we have to also take the question of Uncle Yinka Quadri quickly. Yinka Quadri, quickly,
Hello?
please. Hello, please quickly ask your question. Hello, we are hearing you.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you very much for this great opportunity. Before I ask my question, let me just quickly appreciate the effort of those behind this project. I commend them for their untiring input to make sure that this country is saved eventually. I just want to make some quick observations, basically four, but I won't take your time. The the number one point is that just to correct the impression that is being flown around here that this imperialism agenda of conquest, colonization, and eventually the cannibalization of this country is a religious agenda. I think that is not too right. I think the challenge is that these people are using religion to drive that agenda. But from investigations and from concrete evidence that we have been able to gather, this is purely an ethnic agenda. And it is a supremacy agenda that has been on for centuries. And something has to be done by us to stop it. The number two item is that is with regard to NINAS and the issue of the idea of the nullification of the Constitution. My own take is very simple. If the Constitution is annulled, how do we, what do we have in its place? If the Constitution is annulled, what are the laws or what instruments are going to be guiding us after that nullification, which incidentally is supposed to be active now? So the number three item is that what are the plans that we are putting in place to generate consensus for the idea that we are having about no restructuring, no election. If we're not going to have elections, what are we going to have? Because either we like it or not, by May 2023, the tenure of this regime will be completely used and spent. So when you are now saying that there's no election, no restructuring, no election, are you suggesting that you are giving the freedom to the current regime to continue to go on, or what do we want to do? But the last point I want to make is that in everything that we have discussed here today, or that we have even been discussing before now, and that we may probably discuss in the future, there is one silver bullet to the problems. And that silver bullet simply is mobilization. I know that a lot of people are worried, a lot of people are concerned. We like to talk about the problems, but beyond talking about the problems, we need to begin to look at the solutions. And for me, having done so much, I am happy Dr. Badaya Malafia is there. We are close. We were part of the people that went to see him in Jos when he was being persecuted. We actually created a movement on his behalf. Tony Nandi is also there. He's my good friend. We've been on this for a couple of decades. But the question now is, if we do not mobilize ourselves, if we do not coordinate ourselves, if we do not get off this web and off this internet and all that, and get to the ground and creatively and physically mobilize our people, the war is on.
I think
are part of our problems. So my last point, which is just ancillary to other points, is that let us stop looking at these international communities that and hoping that they're coming to help us. They are part of our problems. Those who know. What we need to do is look at how we can help ourselves. And I think that is the most critical issue for us to take home here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I will take the last question of Professor Beredugo. Please quickly ask your question, sir.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you very much. Just trying to look at scenarios. We have had recommendations that we should insist on no election, which, one presentation said, what we need to do now is a domino one. Stop the election. When we stop the election, it will knock down the constitution, and and so on. I'm just trying to look at scenarios. If we say no election and a new constitution must come in place before the next election, then what happens? Will we not then say there should be an extension of the current regime beyond the
Similar to, yeah, it's similar to the second point of by Yinka Quadri.
Sorry?
Okay. And I say it's similar to what the other person has asked also. Like we say there's no election, what law will not govern us? Is it not considering that the other people continue to rule?
Yeah, and if we create a scenario where there is like you say come against anybody who is trying to run down, who trying to campaign or anything, and we create such a confusion in the will we not create a ripe atmosphere for state of emergency, which will then give people a chance to do faster, even what they ordinarily may not have been able to do as fast? I'm just wondering if we will not be setting ourselves up for slaughter. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. So we'll be calling on our speakers to deal. Dr. Malafia will have the first go. I'm seeing Abedun Olomola raising hand. We may not be able to take a further question, sir. You may have to lower your hand.
No. I don't have it. That's my question.
Okay.
I'll put my hand down. Sorry.
Okay. So we're calling on Dr. Malafia to attend to your question, and then I'll be calling on Barrister Nadi if he's still on the platform. If not, then Dr. Anosike to take the two questions from Yinka Quadri, which is also the same question from Professor Beradugo. So let's have it in that order quickly, please.
Can we make quick observations, sir?
Okay. All right. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Well, I think I had three questions here, and thank you so very much for all of them. First is from Abiodun Olomola. Yes, I think two main questions. The first being, what are we in the Middle Belt doing in order to ensure that there is no election and that we have a new constitution? Well, to be very honest, I could ask the same question for Haneze Ndibo, for Yoruba elders, Afenifere, and the rest. It's a question for all of us. Let me just first of all also explain that I am not, I am associated with the Middle Belt Forum, but I've never had any elective position as in the Middle Belt. I'm not even the executive. I used to be the advisor, strategic advisor to the late Dr. Bala Takaya, who passed away. I advised them informally, but I'm not a member of the executive. So I'm in no position to tell you what the official policy of the Middle Belt Forum is. I can only infer from discussions I've had, with colleagues there and the rest, that yes, Middle Belt are very concerned, but Middle Belt are fighting so many different battles. This issue of the Constitution is a very late one, as you very well know. We have been an occupied people. We've been a colonized people. We've just been fighting just to extricate our people, to have some breathing space. Our lands have been occupied. We're already living under apartheid. A lot of you can speak from the comfort of Lagos or from the comfort of Enugu, for that matter, or the diaspora. But we are at the immediate receiving, and we've been for more than 10 years. We are on it. We're talking to our people. We're seeing how we can mobilize our people. It has been difficult. It has been very tough. As I speak to you now, I'm still I'm not yet free to come back like a normal person. So it has not been easy, but I can assure you that we are working on that, and it's a very important corner of our current efforts. So, Yinka Kadri, thank you so much, my dear brother Yinka. I really appreciate you. And thank you for all the support I've received from you and from the brethren. You've been truly wonderful, and I cannot thank you enough. Well, the thing is, catch-22. If we want to say no election in 2023, I can tell you, and then we decide that we're going to boycott it, for example. They will celebrate. It's like giving it the power back to them in a platter. Guys from the British and the others, this is really what they will be delighted. They will pretend that there's no problem. Well, you stubbornly refuse to take part in the elections, so be it. So, you know, if you go to play a football match and the guys don't turn up, the referee has the right to blow the whistle and declare you the winner, you know, that sort of thing. So another scenario we should look at. And then from this time to even May, even February, March 3, will that be enough time to form a new constitution? I mean, realistically. It will also be possible for us to now say, okay, let us go in, let us fight the elections on the agenda of constitutional reform. That has been done in many countries. You fight in an election, I mean, in order to constitution, you win an election on a constitution that you are determined to change. That again is an important area we need to be looking at. And then thank you, my dear sister, Dr. Anosike. Yes, I mentioned Mazekano, and you educated me better on that. I started by saying that much as I respect his determination to fight for what he believes in, I was quite uncomfortable with some of his rhetoric. And I didn't want to say more than that, you know, I didn't want to say more than that, but you know, the debate can go on. And
yes,
it seemed to me as if there wasn't much.
Ladi Toots.
Anyway, so
hello, Ladi Toots.
Anyway, let me stop here, and thank you so very much. And on the last point about, you know, intellectuals can be unidimensional in a way that doesn't help. We all know that the Fulani agenda is on the top. But I think it's dangerous for us to see it purely and only and exclusively as an ethnic agenda. On what basis are you forming such an opinion? Or are you afraid to say that religion is also a problem? What's so special about that? I mean, it can be both. It is both an ethnic as well as a religious problem. I don't see why we're shying away from that. Must it be only an ethnic issue? In real life, problems do not pose themselves only in one dimension. They often come in many, several, and often very complex dimensions. And this is one of them. The ethnic agenda is top, of course, that there is a Fulani agenda over and above anything Islamic. Muslims are also equally oppressed, and they are fellow Muslims. But we should not shy from saying that this thing is also working out according to the logic of global jihad. And that global jihad, I don't mean mainstream, normal, moderate Muslims. I'm talking about radical Islam. A lot of this agenda has been hijacked by the demons of radical Islam. And they are being sponsored. Has a sovereign wealth fund of $1 trillion. For them to bring out 10 billion and fight everybody else in Nigeria, it's not a difficult thing for them to do. Iran has its own agenda. Turkey wants to resurrect the Ottoman Empire and control the whole of the Middle East, including Africa. And they are pumping a lot of money. They are pumping arms, not necessarily for Fulanis, but for Islam. They want to be the new conquistadores in Africa. And they believe that if they can take Nigeria, by whatever name you call it, whether Fulani hegemony or Islam or Islamic Fulani hegemony, whatever it is, they will do it. And this is what this business is all about. It doesn't mean that, you know, it is just Fulani. It is Fulani mainly, but using the idiom of radical Islam, Salafi Islam, which has become a weaponized system of fighting non-Muslims and having hegemony using the weapon of Salafi radical Islam. So anyway, I rest my case. All of us have work to do. It's going to be very tough. And we cannot say it loudly enough. We cannot say it loud. We are Democrats. But you know that constitutional changes often happen through quantum big bangs. Unless there's a quantum big bang somewhere, it is going to be far tougher to have a new constitution. But if all of us rise up, if all the like-minded patriots of Nigeria rise up and say enough is enough, we are not going to take this anymore and we're not going to live with it. I can tell you chances are they will have to buckle in somehow. And, you know, we can all go to the table and discuss a new constitution for this country. And for Ninas, well, you know, you are a pharmacist and an industrial chemist, not a jurist or a political scientist. So I can understand you talking about the difference between secession and self-determination and the rest of it. And then every part can write his own constitution. In a federal system, states can write, the federating units can write their constitution, but any constitution that differs fundamentally or that contradicts the ground norm of the main constitution is null and void and of no effect. You are literally declaring a separate country. If it's a separate country you want, just say it clearly and save us all this rigmarole. So let's be very clear about what it is we're talking. Anyway, thank you so very much.
Okay.
Bless you.
We thank God for Dr. Before we call on the Ninas to give a response, Dr. Malafia will be very grateful if you can make your presentation in a form of document for us, sir. We'll do it as a form of document, if you don't mind, sir, because you gave a very lengthy discussion, which we are not able to take notes on.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
I said, if we want to see if we can get your presentation in form of a document, you can let us have it through our officers who contacted you. We'll be very grateful, sir.
But anyway, I will try, but all I have is the what do you call it, the PowerPoints that I presented. But let's see what that's possible. Anyway, thank you so very much.
Very grateful, sir. Yes.
Thank you.
So yes, I will be.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, sir. You're welcome, sir. I'll be handing over to Sister Linda now to quickly take the response from either Barrister Nadi or Anosike, but very brief. We must close in the next 5 minutes. Must close this meeting in the next 5 minutes. So I'm sorry, Comrade or Commander Emmanuel Nandoko. We cannot take you, please. We take Barrister Tony Nadi now for the questions asked. Sorry for the time limit, but that's all we have, sir.
Right.
Appreciate you, sir.
Thank you. I go straight to it. The Ninas, I will plead with everybody present. We can't have all this education and all this exposure and yet prefer to work with conjecture when there is a document on the table for us to review. The diplomats across the world, governments across the world, stakeholders across the length and breadth of this country are looking at that document because the proposition we have was signed by 127 persons in the first instance, including the heads of all those regional, groupings, the nationalities. The head of Nyangodo was President General for Hanese, leading 39 other people to sign the eastern part of it. The head of PANDEF at the time was sitting Kanga. He's late now. He signed, leading 39 other people from his plan. Then the head of Middle Belt, Forum, Bitrus Pogo, signed. So there is a proposition. There's a proposition that we took 4 pages in Guardian newspaper to place on, so that everybody can see exactly what we proposed and the mechanism by which we say it could be done. We are not talking about election boycott, and I mentioned it when I first spoke. We are talking about using the balance of the tenure now to shut down the journey to election, to tell them that political parties, look, this is now life and death for us. If we go to this election, we're going to be slaughtered because the people who are driving us to the election are only trying to save a constitution we have defeated. We have defeated that constitution. And if we don't take that decision now, and we go to election and they go with their own plan for why they're dragging us to election, we're just submitting ourselves to be killed. And I went further to say that those people who are doing those political parties are going to have to contend with those people who are being killed, who want to get rid of that constitution by all means that will end the legitimacy of the presence of the Fulani in their spaces, because that's our target, to end the union created by that constitution we did not make. And because we're not anarchists, we're saying that exactly like South Africa did with apartheid. Apartheid was the same situation. The Boers, white minorities, that by brigandage became the owners of the entire South Africa to the exclusion of the black owners. The ordeal started in 1910, our own started in 1914. The principles are exactly the same. The documents we got from the British archives, which we got the WikiLeaks style, indicate that it was the same principles that were used to found what became the Nigeria of 1914. And they have managed to carry it forward through all those constitutional epochs to the current constitution. Somehow they managed. And we're saying that having now put our signature on the final product, the 1999 constitution, we cannot continue to allow it to be. And so we say we are pulling back that signature. And all of what we did over the last 21 years to bring it to this culmination, if those who are speaking to the matter from afar are not prepared to look at what we put on the table. When we called PRONACO, it was to have consensus, countrywide consensus. We had 164 ethnic delegations that came. Buhari was part of the Fulani delegation that came. There's nothing we're discussing here now that were not discussed in that. We had Syed Abubakar. He's now Sultan in Sokoto. He was a colonel in the army at the time. He was part of the Fulani delegation that came. We said, look, the British are gone. We have been here since. Let us accept we have a problem. Let us look away from what was done wrong before. Let us sit down and work out how we can get back to being a federation. We ceased to be a federation since 1966, the toppling of the 5 constitutions that made us a federation. And so we went to all of it and we got out a document, something that became a draft that could have taken us back to being a federation. But these people now went, pulled away from that consensus and began to do their Sharia things more and more, began to do their feudal things more and more. And we said, okay, if it has come to where you make the country ungovernable because you are not in charge, then we may well come to the point where we let you go because we interpreted the simultaneous imposition of Sharia in 12 contiguous states as secession from a secular union. What I'm saying here have been said inside the UN Security Council chambers, not officially. We came informally to tell them what was happening in our Nigeria. They followed it to the point where they sent Agnes Callamard in 2019. And that was just after the 7 months the US government spent to interrogate what we were saying. Because the matter of Fulani and jihad, look at this map. This is what the US is working with right now. This is that Nigeria and the Sharia belt. This is West Africa. And you have Chad, Niger, Mali here. You can see how big they are. They are all bigger than Nigeria. And this red circle you see was what we told the US, that if they do not come quickly enough, that these people are trying to overrun Nigeria so that they can have enough resources to declare that Islamic caliphate they've been trying to establish in the Middle East, in our territory. And that Buhari was at the center of how it's being done. We gave them evidence of what we are saying, that Boko Haram was formed. We saw how it became basis of getting to power. We saw in 2014 when ISIS and Boko Haram joined to become ISWAP. We saw when it became Fulani herdsmen. When Buhari was sworn in as president, they turned into something else and began to wipe out communities. We saw that Buhari remained a grand patron of Mieti Allah that was taking responsibility for the killings and atrocities of the Fulani herdsmen. We saw when the federal government of Nigeria yanked off 100 billion naira from the treasury to give to Mieti Allah in the midst of Mieti Allah's claiming responsibility for Fulani herdsmen that have been adjudged the third most deadly terror group by the Global Terror Index. So in all of that, every proof we needed to furnish them for why the invasions were taking place, why our government had not done anything officially other than telling us one blank story or the other. And so I'm just saying that the proposition we have on the table is that we cannot proceed, we cannot in one breath say we are fed up with this union of master and servant imposed by that segment of the country, as their own empowerment to enslave the rest of us. And then we say we go to one more election under it. We've been going to elections since 1999. And these processes have come through, a lot of stages to where there's a critical mass that now wants to end the cycle of renewing our enslavement by elections. So we're not talking about boycott. Boycott is useless. If you go to boycott, whoever votes, they will declare a result. We're saying that inside the third quarter at the most of 2021, those who know that there is this agenda to exterminate them are in a position to rally together in the plan that is already on the table, that have been bought into by all the sides who are in that danger. At least let the rest go to referendum. Let us insist we cannot go to renew that, the life of that constitution. For the Middle Belt, I'm now speaking as a co-convener of NINAS. For the Middle Belt, I can assure us that they are doing the best they can in the circumstances. Over 100 language groups. I knew how many times the team had to travel to Jos, of which I was part. Jos, Benue, everywhere. We're in touch with them. They have gone very far in putting their own documents together. They have never, organized themselves to govern themselves in the past. This is the first time they are doing many, many things at the same time. I can report to us that serious progress, dramatic progress have been made in the documentations required both at home and abroad. And in the coming days, the country will wake up to what they have done. That's in the Middle Belt. In the eastern part, yes, because of the madness going on the street, Nnamdi Kanu's variety of Biafra that doesn't have any boundary, that is just, confusion and commotion. Because of that, things that would have been happening on the street are laid back. But I can assure you that charter of relationship that brings the George Ogoni, the Anang, the Efik, the Igbo, that have been discussing, for a long time. It took us 6 years to go to get everybody to, bring their consent to the table of, okay, let us then work out the terms. Let us work out the modalities. So that sort of relationship is going on now. By the time it is presented, it will be a document that the United Nations can work with. And for those who are talking about how the international community will not do anything, if you know what it is for the US to adjudge what we took to them as a national security concern, to bring in the people, their actual decision makers, because they are at war with ISIS, and ISIS is here being reinforced to come back for them. So we didn't go to discuss with them, oh, come and help us because they're beating us up. No, we went to tell them that the enemy that you pushed out from Middle East is regrouping in our backyard, invited by our own government. If you don't come, they're going to be so strong by the time they finish that the whole of Europe and America will take direct hit in terms of blood. It will cost America blood. And they adjudged it credible enough to interrogate it and then called us back to come to furnish the evidence of what we're talking about. And as I speak, policy actions have been rolled out. Nigeria was put on the watch list in the initial time. By subsequently, Nigeria was declared a country of particular concern and state sponsor of terror alongside Iran. If we know what that means, we'll then understand the depth of the discussion. And in all of that, they had asked us, what exactly do you want, what's your proposition for how this matter can be solved? And so we told them about the constitution imposed by the people who are now doing Sharia and feudalism to our detriment, who now want to overrun us with their kinsmen from all over the balance of West Africa and elsewhere, and we said to them, we have a local initiative that has repudiated that constitution by which these people are able to do all of what they're doing. And that if we have their support, that constitution is taken down. The union is brought to an end. We have never campaigned for writing of a new constitution. Anybody who is talking about a new constitution, whether he's senior advocate or professor of law, is ignorant. What will happen if the constitution goes down is first a meeting of those who will be countries of their own to recommit. And that recommitment can only be by referendum, regional referendums. And those regional referendums will be preceded by constitutions. Yoruba will make out its own constitution, because if we're to be a federation, it will be the constitution, we're like countries that are coming to cooperate. That was how we became one union in 1960. Was the constitution of Western region not in place, and the one of the East and the one of the North? Were these three not in place before they went to Lancaster House to now unionize? We are saying that if we have 20 years to target it, I am happy to be the one at the center of how that constitution was taken down. There's nothing that can give life back to it. The National Assembly, they thought they were going to rush to. You saw what Yadudu was telling them. Yadudu, the quota professor, he doesn't know that the National Assembly's mandate is for lawmaking, totally different from constitution making. And I'm discussing the matter as an authority on that subject area. My students in the question of jurisprudence are the professors of law themselves. It is when they get confused that they come to me. And all of these senior advocates parading around Nigeria, except a few who were honest enough to come down from their mistakes. In fact, I can say it in this forum now. Professor Akio Yebode had cause to see that something was wrong in what they were teaching at the time. And he requested me to come to Unilab so that we could trash it out. And I came. And when we finished speaking, he said, look, the whole law community of University of Lagos will have to hear this. And he summoned, an informal class of all of you, come, let us hear. This is now applied jurisprudence. I went and we trashed it all. The University of Lagos now made a U-turn from what they were teaching before then that seemed to put our sovereignty in the hands of government. Unfortunately, elements like Professor Ben Wabeze, I went to his office in Yaba to explain to him that he was in error, because he went to molest Jonathan in the villa to say that Jonathan could not call a sovereign meeting. in the face of a sitting government. The country was collapsing. Everybody wanted to discuss the matter. Ben Webeze now presented himself as the one who was the overall controller of constitution in Nigeria. Having gone to explain to him in private, to save him the embarrassment of having to be told in public, he still went out after agreeing with me in private. He still went out to do the bidding of his of whoever he was working for, because he was the one that drafted what became the 1979 Constitution. He was the one that tied us down in this mess. And then I had to come public to say, who taught you that kind of jurisprudence? He became so embarrassed that he had to call a press conference to recant. He said they thought that unitarianism will unite the country, that the soldiers misled them. You, professor of law, soldier, Murtala Mohammed, that has this kind of certificate that Buhari has, misled you? What did they get from it? So in all of this, I'm informing you, anybody, any lawyer, professor, senior advocate, judges of the Supreme Court of Nigeria, bring them forth to come to take a contrary position from this. Sovereignty belongs to the people. The power to make constitution is called constituent powers. The National Assembly does not have constituent powers. Our contention is that we have not made any constitution. If we made a constitution, National Assembly can, of course, amend. We're not saying that assemblies or parliaments cannot amend constitution. No, that's not our contention. Our contention is that we have not made any constitution, full stop. And if the reason people can come from Sokoto and Kano to kill people in Ibadan, to kill people in Aba, to kill people in Makodi, is because it is alleged that we have made such a constitution. We have enjoyed it for 21 years. We say it will not proceed any further beyond this. Whatever else is better for us, even if there will be commotion. That commotion will begin with the political parties that we're talking to now that are not listening. We are going to help the people who are already dying. The people who are already dying, we are appointing them. There's nothing I've said here that I've not said on national TV, on AIT, on channels, and all of them. The people who have been killed, the people whose future have been ruined, the people who are slaving away in Europe and America and China, whose body parts have been sold in a regular market from Libya. We are going to rally them against those political parties. So the fight will begin with them. Let the Fulani masters, because that constitution is to empower the Fulani to complete their conquest mission. If we have enjoyed it for this length of time and they're not willing to listen to anything, they're going to count their numbers in the coming days. And those political parties that stand with them to want to go to renew the life of this constitution, we're going to treat them as the enemy. Whatever we have will first be heaped on them. Whatever we have to fight will begin with stopping them from going to enable this renewal of that constitution. From the time we call that, there will be logjam. There will be logjam that will now, necessitate a transition. It is in that transition that the two things that Bola Ige was talking about will be done. You remember when they were campaigning for sovereign conference, Bola Ige said two questions will have to be answered. Are we willing to continue in this union? If the answer is yes, we then go to the matter of the terms of the union. That's where constitution writing comes in. So if 1999 constitution goes down, the first business is not to write constitution. I saw this Sabakoba group and Falana group, everybody's writing constitution to go and voice of reason, all kinds of people, Fakbonda and God. They're writing constitution to go and give to National Assembly to do what with? When we say Yoruba have to decide, look at that preamble again. We, the people, have solemnly resolved to live in this union, indivisible, and we have therefore made the constitution. That's the thing we are contesting. That's what we're saying did not happen, and the proof of the fact that it did not happen is also in the document. Decree number 24, by which Absalom Abaka, imposed that constitution, told the story. So we're not. When we went to court in 2007, I was the one that filed the suit, and we said to them, the evidence of our contention is in black and white inside the constitution. Absalom Abaka wrote in that decree that they should not print the decree along with the constitution. In error, they printed it. And that's how the proof for the fact that Yoruba did not submit their land, Ijo did not submit their land. That's why they're on the street. For the people Yinka that's talking about mobilization, I hope you saw the day we went to Ibadan, that Sunday Igboho came to join us halfway in what we're doing. And that the people marched out on the streets everywhere. And every weekend, they've been out on the streets everywhere. They've gone even to Washington and elsewhere to say they're fed up with this union of death, union of imposition. And so it is within our reach. It is within our reach to end this enslavement. If we don't, we are laying ourselves open for the onslaught of the Fulani that are already marching upon us. Our lands have been shared amongst them. It is promised land as far as they're concerned. And we are the ones enabling it by allowing this constitution to remain in place. For every day it remains, we will be contributing no less than 50 lives for being unable to stand up and do what is within our reach to do. I think we can leave it there.
Okay, thank you so very much. It's been such a wonderful evening that we've had. We haven't had it for this length of time. We've overshot it by over 1 hour. And I can understand the reason why we have to do this. It is because what we are discussing is so timely. It's so important. If there's anything that is important in Nigeria today that can salvage the land, it is what we're talking about. But having said that, I want to just say that the speakers today have given us so much. And I think this will be the culmination of the series that we had started at the beginning of the year. Dr. Malafia has said to us that Nigeria is already a failed state. And I hope I'm not misrepresenting what I heard. Not yet collapsed, but failed. Now, if a nation fails, then that nation should be rebuilt from the start. Nina's position is exactly that. We need to rebuild. We need to understand that what we built has not worked in 60 years or more. And if it is so, we need to do something. The Bible makes us understand, because we're all Christians, I want to believe, and if we're not all Christians, there's something in the Bible in 1 Corinthians in chapter 10 that says that when we are overtaken by a mistake we have made, because a lot of mistakes have been made along the line, Dr. Malafia gave us an historical overview. There is a way of escape. The only way of escape is the position that Niners is given to us. It is so clear how the Lord arranged it in such a way that there was a way of escape, and it was discovered by the proponents of Niners, of which Tony Nandi played a very major role. We need to be thanking the Lord at this particular stage that God has given us a way of escape that the international community cannot even reject. That is causing the National Assembly to go haywire. It is because there's something important that they have seen, and they know that there's no way in the world that you are going to put this thing down and you are not going to win. It's already a winner. What I see tonight is that we need to understand the Niners position a lot better. So Niners has come up with a philosophy and an effort that has been made, and they have spoken it to us. There's a possibility that some of us still need to know it. And what we want to suggest to Niners tonight is to say, you know what? Perhaps you need to make a little pamphlet. I don't know how that gets done. You may have discussed it before, that we can begin to disseminate so that people can read it again, and they can understand it a lot better than what we may have been able to achieve. But I want to say thank you to Tony Nandi and our sister Augusta, because they have spoken so much. And I know they've been speaking on other platforms, trying to get this to our understanding. Now, if we now have an understanding, then we can begin to mobilize. As it were, mobilization is going on, but it appears as if we are mixing it up. It would appear so. But let it be that we have a better and deeper understanding of the position that Niners has given to us, the amount of effort they have made, and how much the international community knows that there is no getting away with this illegality anymore. All right. I think we want to stop here. There could be questions, that we still have. If you can get our email, AFD on CSMN, I don't know whether Brother Richard can flash that just before we shut down now. And
Pastor Linda, if you don't mind, let me just chip in one little thing, just 2 seconds, please.
Okay.
Yeah, please, for those that are interested in what NINAS is doing, we have our website. You can go and get more information that even what Barrister Tony said. Go to www.ninasffn.org and www.freedomfromnigeria.com. Go and check these two websites. We have more than enough information. And I think there's a place where you can vote or something. So just go. We do that. We update it on a daily basis. And we also have a Twitter handle where we spread this information. We have volunteers that are drawing very, very beautiful graphics about what we are doing and why this constitution has to come down. And as I introduced myself earlier, I said I'm a member of Daughters of Truth. We have every Saturday we discuss the NINAS project. So we've been discussing this for a while, and we have done that extensively. So you can find that on YouTube as well, Facebook and YouTube, where you get more information about what NINAS is doing. Very, very exciting. Very exciting. Thank you.
Okay. We're so very grateful. And we want to say thank you to each and every one of our guest speakers tonight, this evening. Dr. Obadiah Malafia, we're so grateful, sir. Professor Akinyemi Kunigbiri, we're very, very grateful. We thank you so much. There was so much fire of vexation in you, but it was so honest. It was so down to earth, because it looks as if we have deceived ourselves for too long. For how long will we continue a game of deception? Battery. So we want to say thank you to you. We are saying thank you to Dr. Anosike. We're very grateful. Our brother, Mr. Tony Nandi, we are so very grateful, sir. It is always a joy, to listen to you. And the passion, you are passing the passion over to so many. And so we just want to encourage you, because we keep all of you in the place of our prayers. And to each and every one of our guests, both in Nigeria and in diaspora, we're so grateful that you have stayed this length of time just to listen to this. And I know it is because all of us are concerned about this country, and all of us are concerned about the future of this country and the future of our children, and also for posterity, because history is going to carry this phase of our own lives and experience. We're very grateful to you, and we thank you so much. And we believe that next time we send you an invitation, you will honor our invitation. You will honor your country. We would be grateful to have your contributions to all the things that we have been doing on the platform. And we want to continue to bless you. You remain in our prayers, each and every one of us. And we believe that we would see the Nigeria of our dream, which is also the Nigeria of God's dream. Thank you very much. We're now going to call on Brother Rotimi to give us a closing prayer.
Oh, thank
Brother
you.
Rotimi, are you there?
Yeah, thank you.
Are you going to give us your closing prayer, sir? Is Brother Bosun around? Or what have you decided? We started with prayer. We want to be sure that we close with the prayers.
All right, let me just quickly do it.
Okay. Thank you.
Maybe just before I pray, may I request that everyone who has been a part of this see how enlightening and how interesting it has been. And we will try as much as possible to share this recording to the different people. And I think that this is a conversation that everybody in Nigeria would need to hear. I want to encourage that we just share as much and as robustly as we can, so that this information gets around all across the nation. We thank all the people who have spoken. I've been richly, richly educated. Let me pray. Father, we thank you and give you glory because you are Lord. Thank you, O God, for the proceedings of this meeting, for the speakers, for the knowledge, for everything that has come. We thank you because you are the sovereign of the nations. The earth belongs to you and the fullness thereof. And so we are glad, O God of glory, that Lord, in a time when the hearts of many are failing them, you sit upon the throne, and Father of glory, your counsel shall stand. We thank you because Nigeria is a nation of covenant. And so, Father of glory, we rejoice, O God of glory, because you will enter this nation, even to command, O God, your will to be done therein, in the name of the Lord Jesus. Why do we have confidence? In the beginning, the whole earth was a formless void. And Jehovah, you took it and you made the beauty of what the earth is. Nigeria is but a small thing for you. And so, Lord, that in this nation, you will bring out the beauty. In this nation, you will do that which only you can do. You will enter into judgment. And Father, you bring vindication. You bring, oh God, justice and relief from oppression. And Father, your name again shall be glorified in this land. We give you all the praise. Thank you for all the speakers. And we pray, oh God of glory, that across the nations, Father, people have not just come for information, they have come for counsel. And so, Father, your counsel from this meeting, let it ring across the entire nation. And Father of glory, singing liberty, singing deliverance, and giving glory to God. We give you all the glory and all the honor. In Jesus' name we have prayed. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much. So great.